Call this meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. This is the special meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Thursday, September 6, 2012. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Council President Schiffman is recused from this meeting. Councilmember Conklin has asked to be excused. Tomato.
Here.
Councilwoman Patuch is on vacation. Shortman. Here. Yasi.
Here. Also with us this evening, our municipal clerk, David McCarthy, our administrator, Chad Ehrenberg, and our borough attorney, Fred Sembrell. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on August 30th, 2012. Public notification of the date time of this meeting was posted at the municipal building and faxed to all local news media. As per state fire code, I am to acknowledge there are two emergency exits in these chambers. The main doors which you walk through, and exit to my left. If an emergency was to arise, please walk orderly through those exits out of the building. If anyone has any questions on that fire code, please raise your hand at this time. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We're going to begin with a presentation by Councilman Yazdi of the pilot program that we are discussing this evening. We will go through Mr. Yazdi's presentation and then open to public comment on that matter. So, Mr. Yazdi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope I do a fair enough job. This is one of the biggest decisions this town has faced in many, many years. So we've always talked about bringing in more revenue. It's here at our doorstep now. So let's just go through the analysis. And before I go through the analysis, pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. Okay, it's a tax benefit that's usually created to get developers to come into your town and develop. Okay, a lot of towns, let's see, where's that microphone? A lot of towns sign up for these type of pilots for areas that's in bad need of development. Could it be a building? Could be an area that's run down. There's other types of tax benefits that we don't qualify for, like the urban enterprise zone, which brings you 3.5% taxes. Can't qualify for that. This is one that we can't qualify for. A redevelopment zone, as Burgess' report may show you, could have many reasons, and a wooded area that's been sitting as a wooded area for many, many years qualifies, which Avalon Bay happens to be that. Pilots are generally set up to give the tax advantage to the developer to come into the town, right? It's usually set up between 8 to 10% of the gross revenues of the development. It's usually set up anywhere from 20 to 30-year terms. It's a long-term agreement. Usually gives the developer anywhere from 35 to 45% tax break. Okay, so I just want to kind of level set everyone so when people ask me, have you checked with other towns, this is the sort of tax breaks that they normally get, anywhere from a third to half. And it's absolutely a win-win for most municipalities because they weren't getting any taxes, or they were getting minimal taxes for, like for example, in our case, Avalon Bay was paying land tax. But in other municipalities, it's a win-win for them because instead of that little bit of tax, when the redeveloper comes in, turns it into a development, and 10% of the revenue works out to be a much, much greater revenue for the municipality. So it works out pretty good for them, and that's why a pilot is very attractive. Now, pilots are also set up at federal level for schools, for churches, for but that's not what we're talking about. State of New Jersey laws will allow us to set up a pilot in Bloomingdale. Okay, as far as the Avalon Bay breakdown, it is a 30-year term, the agreement that we have negotiated. First 5 years is 11% of gross revenues. it rose to 11.5% of gross revenues the second 5 years. And for the last 20 years, it will be set at 12% of gross revenues. However, there's a minimum set. Okay, so in year one, it's $550,000, and then that minimum will grow 2% every single year. So as our taxes grow, their taxes will grow, their pilot will grow. And there is a, if you read the agreement, there is a land credit. I don't want anyone to get confused. He's going to get two bills. One is for the land, normal taxes, same as everyone's paying today. And he's going to get a second bill for the pilot, which takes the $550 minus what he's paying for the land today. So the total payout is going to be the $550. Okay? And then we negotiated away any of the Kelly Act reimbursements. That's all done. We don't have to reimburse any of that. And all costs are going to be responsibility of Avalon Bay for the term of the pilot, so it's a condition of the pilot. And that value of the Kelly Act reimbursements, these are things like garbage and snow removal and leaf pickup, things of that sort. We don't have to pay for it. So not only they would pay the $550, but they have to cover their own cost of things that we get coverage under our normal taxes. So that's an additional anywhere from 60 to 80, depending on the year and how bad the storms may be and things of that sort. So 60,000 is a minimum. So let's do a quick comparison. Normal taxes would bring us $700,000 a year. The land tax is $91,000 that we currently get. So the additional tax that the borough would receive would be about $609,000. And out of that, we just write a check to the county for $115,000. That's gone.
Under normal taxes.
Under normal taxation.
Just to clarify.
Yep. Schools would get a check for $321,000. And the municipal portion would be $162,000. And the Kelly Act would be our responsibility under normal taxation, right? We would have to cover, we would have to reimburse. So the minimum $60,000 would come off of that. It would give us a net balance of $102,000 coming into the municipal coffers. That's normal taxation. The pilot, as I went through the details, is going to bring us $550,000. Land tax credit is going to reduce it. We have to pay the county 5% of that remaining. So it's $550 minus 91, roughly $460,000. 5% of that, about $23,000, goes to the county. The municipality would get to keep $436,000. Okay, that's a benefit of $334,000. Okay, roughly. So remember that number. The difference between normal taxation and a pilot, huge benefit to the municipality. And I know a lot of you are sitting back going, well, all right. What are you going to do with that money? So let's just remember our budget, right? $9.7 million budget that we have. And we have state aid that comes off of that, shared services that will reduce that number, right? We don't tax you for the entire $9.7 million. There's local revenues, library tax, there's other category, right? This is where we have to get creative to find and get ourselves out of trouble this year. There's tax sales that we do every year, construction permit fees that come in, and other grants that brings down the value to $7.3 million that we're all taxed for. Okay, and out of that $7.3 million, residential, all of us, homeowners, we pay 84% of that. Okay, other businesses in town covered the other 1.2 million. So I just want to kind of go back and remind you that $436,000 that the pilot could bring us is a 36% increase to that other category, which would allow us to stabilize taxes for that $6 million that you're being taxed for. Okay? Now, this is pretty difficult to go through the whole thing on PowerPoint, so I'm going to revert back to Excel because I can show you numbers in Excel a lot easier. So if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down, flip through my computer here. Let's see. So again, normal tax is 700,000, 91,000 is the land portion, 608 is your remaining balance. Okay, 18.9% goes directly to county, $115,000. Schools would normally get 321. Rose Fund gets some, library gets some of that money. Municipality is left with 162. And remember, we said that the costs that come along with it, the Kelly Act reimbursements, add up to 60 to 80,000, depending on the type of year you have. And for all the spreadsheets that you've seen today, we've used a 2% growth factor. That's how we've negotiated the pilot. It's 2% growth, and we're making the assumption that our taxes will go up 2%. Okay, we're going to try to hold them, but for the comparison purposes, we said, what if taxes went up 2%? The same as what the pilot is going to bring us. So just keep that in mind. Everything's growing. All our expenses, all our costs are going to grow at 2%. So let's talk about the available taxes from the county. Normally, under normal taxation, we pay them $115,000. Under the pilot, we're going to pay them $23,000. That leaves us with $91,000. And our goal going into this pilot program, and let me just back up a little bit. Unlike other municipalities where they want to give a tax advantage for a developer to come in, we didn't have to give a tax advantage for Avalon Bay to come in. If you remember, we went through a whole legal battle. Avalon Bay won, and there's a court order that they're going to come in and build for it, right? So we didn't have to give them a pilot program. We could have left it as normal taxes. So we had all the upper hand. We had all the negotiating power, unlike other municipalities where they give up 35% of their normal taxes. Here, where we went into it saying, hey, as long as it's not costing our residents a penny, this is a good deal. Let's talk about it. As long as all I'm giving up is the county piece, I was going to write the county a check anyway. It's not costing us a dime. This will be a good deal, depending on what you do with the money that the municipality gets. I'm going to go into that. So I just want you to remember there's $92,000 of county money available in year one. Okay, and then everything's going to grow 2% after that. So let's just quickly look at Avalon's benefit. I know everyone's kind of like seeing red as soon as they see it. Why are you giving this big corporation a huge tax break? Remember the $92,000 that was available? In year one, they're getting a $90,000 benefit. Normal taxation, $700,000. Pilot, $550,000. Plus they have to cover their own cost that you and I get coverage under our normal taxation. So that's another tax that they're paying out of their pocket. So altogether, it's costing them $610,000 as a conservative number. So their benefit, $90,000. So 12.9%. And if I just back up, I just want to kind of show you the math. I don't want anyone to get confused by percentages. 18.9% is our county tax. Okay, $115,000. Pilot is $22,000, which works out to be 3.8 out of that. There's 15% available. That's 15% of 609. All right, this is where everyone's going to get confused. But it's not 15% of 700,000. So when we come back to Avalon's benefit and we're looking at 700,000, it's 12.9% of what would normally be 13.1. So we're keeping a little bit of the county money. And if everything grows at 2%, that what we keep stays the same. So that's what you're seeing for the term of 30 years, okay, throughout the 30 years, this percentage doesn't change. Their benefit stays at 12.9, okay? So $3.6 million benefit over the course of 30 years. So what's in it for us? Why would we ever do this, right? Why would we give anyone a tax rate? Well, one, because it's not costing us anything. It's just a county money, and we're keeping $2,000 of their money. So it's a tax loophole for us to keep more money. Two, because under normal taxation, and let me go to year one, again, out of 162, our cost $60,000. We only get to keep $102,000. Okay, and if I grow everything at 2% after 30 years, okay, we're looking at net remaining dollars for the municipality of $4 million. Now let me just flip it to pilot. On the pilot, again, 11%, 11.5, with a minimum of $550. And, 11%, 11.5%, what does that apply to, right? What is their gross revenue? Well, their projection is that their gross revenue is going to be around $4 million per year. That's what they're projecting today. And if you go to pilot dollars, okay, so what they're projecting is $4 million, 11% would be $447,000. However, our minimum is $550, so what you carry over, and what I'm showing here is $550. That's going to be our pilot in year 1. So then that's going to grow every single year by 2%. So that's what you're seeing here. All right, so it's the difference between the two. And I know those spreadsheets that are out there, it's confusing. But I just want to explain every single piece of it to you. And if you have questions, we can go back over it again, okay? So let's do a compare. Under the pilot, we get $550,000. We have to, we sent them a check for $91,000 for the land tax separately, right? So, and we have to cut a check to the county. So what we get to keep is $435,000 compared to $102,000 normally, right, under normal taxation. So that's an extra $334,000. That's what I showed on the PowerPoint. And if you roll it down, 2% growth, everything grows 2%, come down to municipalities benefit over 30 years, $13 million. Okay, so what are we going to do with that $13 million is what matters to you. And we're going to get to that in a second. And then it's not just $13 million. There's an additional benefit that I want to explain to you. Today, we have a huge amount of debt, over $12 million. And we're paying interest costs on that debt. If we can take all of this money, pay down our debt, and reduce the interest, we paid over $360,000 in 2012 in interest costs alone. We start to reduce that interest payments that we're paying, these benefits are going to start compounding, right? It's going to start growing at a much faster pace than just the money that we get. So this is where it matters what you do with these pilot, the additional revenue. If you just go buy, things with it, it's wasted away. If you pay down your debt, get rid of that debt, now you're talking. So what did I do? I went in and said, okay, what's the value of $333,000 in just the interest that I can pay off? Again, at a 2% rate. Okay? Over 30 years, year 1 would be $6,000, year 2 would be $6,000, year 3, it would go down. So I put out a spreadsheet that takes it out over 30 years. Okay? So I just want you to see it, and then in year 30, our benefit is $592. It's only for 1 year at 2%. So you add it all up, and I carried it back over here, and that's what you're seeing. So very confusing, but believe me, this is exactly how we would have to value what that extra benefit is. And I know a lot of you are concerned about what are you going to do with the school money. I just want you to understand that town versus school, in year 1, it's an extra $333,000 that we're keeping. The school portion would have been $321, so we're keeping more than just the school portion. All right. So realize we're not giving away any of the school money. Again, going back to we had the upper hand in this negotiations. And again, remember that there's a land tax that they're already paying, and school is getting $48,000 a year already from that site, and they're going to continue to get that. County gets their piece, we get our piece. That's not going to change. So all we're talking about is the additional money that we're going to get. All right? And tonight, once we pass this, and I'm hoping we pass this, I will make the motion that we spend all of this for tax relief, to pay down our debt. I actually had a conversation. I put a call into our bond counsel today, asking them, can I sell this cash flow to anyone, right? Because over a course of 30 years, it's worth $13.5 million. Someone's going to come in and pay you $12 million for it. And I want to go pay off my debt, debt-free. Our debt is $1.2 million in our budget this year, out of the $10 million budget. That's 12% of our budget. So just imagine the power of if we can do that. There's laws, there's rules. He thought it was very intriguing. He actually said he wants to take it above the local finance board and go right to the state and have this conversation, because this could be a program not only for us, it could be for other towns that could boost, it could solve a lot of people's problems out there. And so we have to look into that. But even if we don't get that, even if we can't sell this cash stream and we have to pay down our debt faster, it's still a benefit. We get to double down on, just pay your principal much faster. How many of you have a mortgage here? We all understand, right? You borrow $100,000, you pay back $300,000. Why? All the interest costs. If we can pay down, if you pay down your mortgage faster, you finish instead of 30 years for $100 more. You finish 10 years faster, right? Because you're paying down your principal faster, right? We're getting a lot of refinancing offers out there because when you refinance, you get to cut down the number of years you have to pay. Same thing for us. $13 million available to us. Paying down our debt is going to benefit all of you a heck of a lot more than just giving it to the school system on the normal taxation. So this is a good thing as long as the municipality is using it for this. And I would love to sell this cash stream so this way the whole thing is tied to paying off the bond, $12 million bond that this would raise to pay off all our debt and be debt-free and reduce taxes that way. It'd be a huge benefit to this. Okay, so I want to also go back now. This is the spreadsheet that you all have seen, right? You've all seen this, the same information before I broke it down. And, some people were coming up here going, what if there's inflation? What if things go up 5%? Avalon Bay tells us average rent goes up 4% over the course of 30 years. And when you look back, anybody rent before they bought a house? I did. I used to pay $600 a month. Every year it went up $50. Mine was outrageous. It was a big amount. But 5% growth is not ridiculous, right? If you have a $2,000 a month rental, they're going to rack you $50 to $100 a year easily. So a 5% growth is very likely. If I come in here and I put in 5%, just look at what it does to this spreadsheet. Because remember, let me just hide all this so we can see it. Remember, we're talking about the difference between what this percentage gives us and what the minimum gives us at 2% growth. So if there was a 5% growth, right, it doesn't take long. Actually, I think it's year 7 that we're better off getting 11.5% of their revenue versus getting our minimum. So it automatically kicks to the higher dollar amount. Again, win-win for us. So the question of what if things go up a lot faster, it will be a benefit to us. There is laws against us taxing you more than 2%. We're all protected. His minimum's going to grow 2%. I say his, but it's Avalon Bay, big corporation, right? Their minimum's going to grow at 2%. We have nothing to lose here because we're protected. And if we can turn around and our portion, which is 26% of your taxes, we can stabilize that, we can start paying down our debt faster, this is going to have a compounding impact where not only your taxes aren't going to go up 2%, well, theirs goes up 2%, so our benefit will start to compound. But we'll be debt-free in a matter of, it's going to take a while if they don't let us to sell the cash stream, but if they do let us sell that cash stream, then we've dedicated the entire money to paying off our debt, and we're debt-free starting the day we get that approval from the finance board. So that's why it's important to know, as long as it's used correctly in the right hands, it will turn back into a huge benefit for us. They're getting a 12.9, we're going to get a 12% benefit. Win-win for all of us. And by the way, this became, because we have the upper hand, because we could negotiate only a 12.9% pilot, Next guy that wants a pilot, you already written the rules for this town. Sign up for this, you got yourself a pilot. It makes life a lot easier than having to give up 35% begging people to come in. And I don't know if you're going to go over it, Mayor, but we're already getting calls from businesses that want to come into our town. We've been talking about businesses coming to this town for how many years now, and nobody's coming. You give one pilot out, people are going to be lining up. So this is a huge decision tonight. And I'm sorry to see that the rest of the council is not here, because this should be a unanimous vote. Get this done. It's the right thing to do for our residents. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. I'm going to leave that open, so I'm sure you want to stay down there and discussion the opportunity.
Yeah, sure, just in case I
Do that, okay. Before we open to public comment, we get a lot of what I'm sure Ray talked about. I'm sure there'll be any questions. But just the one thing, and I'll comment a lot as the evening goes on. The one thing I want to comment, another just simple example, a simple benefit of the pilot is it eliminates tax appeals on that particular piece of property. So under normal taxation, the Avalon Bay Corporation would have every right to appeal their taxes, any given year, every year. Where the pilot is a fixed number, a set number growing at 2%, number one. Number two, normal taxes are, to a degree, also based on the value of rent. So if a development like Avalon Bay was only partially rented year one or year two, and not completely rented until third or fourth year, for example, which I don't perceive to be the case, but under normal taxes, Ray's proposal showing normal taxes are $700,000, you wouldn't reach that mark under normal taxes until it's full occupancy, which could take a number of years. Under the pilot, year one of completion, you realize the full 550 at 2%. So there's obviously a benefit there. And again, I'm sure a lot of questions will trigger additional comments from me this evening. So with that said, I need a motion to open to public comment.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So anyone wishing to speak, let me just set some ground rules. You must come up, state your name and address clearly for the record. And I ask you to please address the chair. You address the dais, okay? We're not engaging with the audience. We're addressing the chair. And we'll go from there. So let's begin. Anyone wishing to speak, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Yes, sir. Just wait till you get to the microphone to state your name and address, please.
Guy Levin, 16 Jeffrey Drive. You know, if their taxes are fixed, do we have a cap on our taxes also? They're 2% that they pay every year, or 2.5%? Are our taxes also capped?
It's not fixed, it grows at 2%, right? But it's not to exceed, and I see your point, there was a cap not to exceed. However, if the percentage of revenue grows higher than that, it doesn't matter what the minimum is, right, that grew at 2%, they're going to revert back to that. And it's going to be a day that, say normal taxes grew even higher, or even lower, right? We come in and give you a 12% tax credit in year one. All of a sudden, it may not make sense to go through a pilot for them anymore. They get to pay normal taxes as well. The whole thing goes away. So it's not. They're going to revert back to normal taxes if
the pilot
dollars end up exceeding normal taxes.
But what about our taxes? Our taxes are not going to go up above this 2% you're talking about every year?
Well, there is a state law that prohibits us from increasing taxes by more than 2% for a portion of the taxes, right? A portion of our expenses cannot exceed 2%.
But you can come in and reevaluate the houses and the real estate in the towns, and if it goes up $50,000, then 2% more for me to pay, even though it's only a 2% cap, I'm still paying more taxes.
Well, when a reval occurs, though, the tax rate drops, so. Just to
Yeah,
clarify.
from year one, if we don't do a pilot, from year one, your taxes are going to continue to go up, over 2%, right? The pilot allows us to potentially reduce that, and let me just show you the impact of that, right? Say year one, taxes only go up 1%, they go total tax, okay? And year two only goes up. Everyone, no, I'm just showing the impact to the pilot, okay? If taxes, normal taxation, because we're looking at the difference between what would be normal taxation and what a pilot gives this building, right? And what is that difference, and how much of a benefit are they getting in comparison to the rest of us, right? So if we could hold the line at 1% increase for 3 years, the impact of it is Avalon Bay is getting a 12.9% benefit in year one. It reduces that to a 12% benefit compared to normal taxation. Because normal taxes would have went up 1%, his went up 2%, right? And year three, again, same thing. But year four, his benefit just reduced that to 10%. That's all he's getting. Our benefit, this is what I was showing you, right? $13 million. Look at the impact to it. 13 became 13A, and the compounding impact made it $16 million benefit
That's
for
the
us.
30 years.
That's over the course of 30 years.
Yeah.
But we have $12 million in debt, and we can't get ourselves out of this thing. We continue to borrow more and more and more every single year. If this allows us to reduce that, this is that compounding impact that I was telling you about. It will benefit us more. So we can absolutely do more with this money to benefit us. I would sign up for 10 of these because it's not costing us anything. All we're giving up is what the county tax would have been to begin with. We would have written a check to county, right? It's not costing you and I a dime. This gives us the ability to reduce our taxes. No brainer.
All right, I'm confused enough on that, but.
I know.
Okay. He's gonna pay for the snow plowing and garbage removal and everything else. Is all that figured in maintenance of the trucks and maintenance of the snow plows and wear and tear on the equipment?
Their problem. For 30 years, it's their
We're
problem.
not supplying the service. In other words, right, right now, we reimburse similar apartment complexes for sanitation. Okay, here we wouldn't have to do that. We don't use our trucks, we don't use our snow plows,
He's gonna buy his snow plows and garbage trucks?
or hire a contractor, or whatever they choose to do. Right.
It's not gonna impact our dumps or our...
Our rate, our estimate, which is conservative at 60,000, is based on what it would cost the borough if we did provide that service. And that's a conservative number. And that's based on, we took averages of what we pay other developments on garbage based on population, and compared to this particular development, based on their 1, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, whatever the units may be, based on our tipping fees, what it would cost the borough to get rid of that garbage, our manpower, our labor. And that is a conservative number, to your point, because of things like truck maintenance and all. So that's why the range is 60 to 80, but in the council's calculations, they're using a conservative 60 number. But under the pilot, we're not providing any of it. We're not using our trucks, we're not wearing our vehicles out, because we're not providing the service.
So I remember when it came back for leak pickup, we couldn't afford another truck or something, we couldn't afford that truck to be fixed or whatever. And now it's, sometimes they pick up stuff, and sometimes they don't, but that's a wear and tear you're talking about.
But correct, but we're not using DPW manpower or equipment to provide the services in this development.
Avalon Bay also owns that nursing home down there.
No, they do not. Because Avalon Bay bought the land from the owner of the nursing home.
I checked my wife in Tuesday night, and I asked why I have to sign in front of somebody, sign in, and sign out in front of all your employees. And they said that's an Avalon Bay requirement. Now, I don't know where the smoke is coming from, it's covered in here.
Again,
That's news.
yeah, the nursing home,
Nobody knows nothing about that.
No, I didn't realize they owned it, but they pay their taxes on that as the same as the rest of us. So
Yeah, no, it's,
that's not a part of
Avalon Bay does not own the
this
rest of the
kind of
decision.
decision.
Answer that.
That's-
A year or so ago, my parents were there. I had to do the same thing you're doing, I had a sign in, a sign out. It's for safety reasons. They want to know who's in the building coming and who's in the building's leaving.
But it's
Common
public
safety.
safety,
Specifically said,
it's an Avalon Bay requirement.
environment of Avalon Bay.
Right, they do not own that.
Now, how would they come up with that?
I
Some
don't know.
girl is there part-time at night and some of that?
They don't own it.
They don't know.
They don't own it.
I don't know. I'd have to ask our clerk to call tomorrow and ask why their employees are saying that, if they're saying that, but they do not own it. The nursing home owned that lot and block, and Avalon Bay purchased that land from the owner of,
Of the nursing home?
correct, the owner of the, yes.
If the nursing home was owned by Avalon Bay, what land did they purchase?
No. The nursing home owns the nursing home property and the lot and block that Avalon Bay will be constructing on. The nursing home owned that, past tense, owned it.
Avalon Bay owned it before.
No, the nursing home,
Owned all that property.
correct.
And the nursing and everything else at
The
Avalon Bay.
nursing home sold the property to Avalon Bay.
Avalon Bay.
Correct.
But they didn't sell the nursing.
No, separate lot and block,
So that's a false statement that they made to me.
absolutely 100%. Yeah, it's odd.
Sir, if you want to give me your telephone number, I'll check it and call you up.
973?
Come on, just give me your name and telephone number, I'll call you up. I'll absolutely verify that. No problem.
Anyone else wishing, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Bob Easter, 45 Denver Turnpike.
Bob, would you speak into the microphone? Clerk? I would say the bigger one, yeah.
245 Denver Turnpike, waterfall. How are you?
Very well.
Avalon Bay is capped at 12%. Correct? The pilot program, their tax rate is capped at 12%. That's the highest rate to charge. They're
What
working.
do you mean?
Well, they're capped at 12% of gross
12%
revenue with a minimum of 550.
The cap is 550 growth,
Right.
2% a year, so it's a table.
My taxes, 20% of gross revenue. How come Avalon Bay gets, especially 39 years in Bloomingdale, you're saying 20% of gross revenue or thereabouts?
I mean, you're, sorry, go ahead.
All Avalon Bay is getting is what we would have to pay the county regardless. We're not giving them a special treatment, we're giving us a special treatment.
Right. What about,
That's going to help
I'm going to
you.
be very personal.
Yes, it's going to help you reduce your taxes, sure. The taxes, if we can turn this thing and pay off our debt, the amount of taxes we have to collect from our residents, including you, will go down, our tax rates will go down. It's a net plus for all of us.
Which affects the factor of how your units are ultimately taxed. And if I may, and I know the administrator is looking to take the floor, I know we're going to hear from current taxpayers, homeowners, and individuals like you, what about me? I've been paying for 30 years, it's just not fair.
Right.
And I don't disrespect that comment, but Bloomingdale's in the need of redevelopment. I've been on the public record that we need to redevelop Union Avenue, Main Street. Our plan next year is to complete the corridor on Union and all of Main, well, from Riverdale to Kings Corner for redevelopment. All I can say to your question is, you're not in a redevelopment zone. You're not a new development. I mean, that's just clear that.
I know. Well, aware of that.
I'm just saying.
That's not you.
I'm not dismissing what you're, but I'm saying you're answering your question. What about me? You know, it doesn't
And there are landlords throughout the town, I'm sure there are others that are in the
And I
same.
respect that. It's just, if any one of those individuals or a new developer wishes to come in and develop in a growth corridor, we would entertain that idea. And in the end, the net annual basis, as Councilman pointed out, is, particularly the first year, is with a $90,000 difference in tax, which is what they would have obtained in the county, not the borough. Not the borough.
And then one of my other issues is the lack of paying of the money going towards the school system. I know that you've been quoted in the paper saying that if the school system is impacted by the amount of children in Avalon, a deal is cut to make them pay. Is that one child or 5 children or?
No, my statement wasn't to make them pay. It would be if a development, if a pilot development, be it Avalon Bay or a future one, had a direct impact on the Board of Education, and there was a proven cost increase as a result of that development, the borough has the option, an alternative, of negotiating directly with the Board of Ed, nothing to do with the developer, to help with those costs. But the Board of Ed, I would clearly state on the record, has to prove that increased cost. From what our research has shown is that our schools could handle a fair amount of additional students without increasing the cost of education. Now, obviously, there are instances where it could be special needs child, an issue like that, where there could be an increased cost. But the Board of Ed would have to show that there was an actual increased cost. The Board of Ed's budget is their budget. Their budget only can increase 2% as well. You know, just look, we're always careful on that issue, but look at this year, for example. The Board of Ed spent quite a bit of money on capital projects out of their current operating budget. And that money will be there again next year, so they're, well,
Again, you know, my tax bill, 200,000 plus goes towards the schools. A lot of money. We have a handful of children.
right? And I don't mean to...
So, where is the, where is the, you know?
And I understand. I mean, I don't mean to be flippant with my comment that if I can put you in a redevelopment zone, and I can get 95% of your tax, and I would do it in heartbeat for the borough. Because the borough is in dire straits, sir. The borough needs what exactly we're trying to negotiate here to pay down debt, to stabilize taxes.
Understood. I
this is
totally
how
understand that. And when I see that the other amount that you collect, a third of that other is from Waterfall Village, given the amount of money that you showed me. It's a lot of other. We're a big taxpayer, perhaps, other than Avalon, the largest in the town. I don't know for sure, but yes.
But I would turn your argument different, right? You're saying, hey, I pay a lot of money towards taxes, so what about that? I mean, towards schools, what about that, right?
Yeah.
If we took this money and gave it to the schools, we can't turn the benefit that I'm talking about for the rest of us, including you. So it would cost you even more,
I understand.
right? It would cost you even more. And the fact that we have the option, and two things very important, everyone should understand. I'm not here to bash the school system. I think they do a great job. Our teachers are great. I wish we could improve. We could improve our education more and more and more, and if it costs us more, you know what? I, for one, I'm willing to pay. However, the school budget went from $16.1 million to $18.5 million in 2 years. They have $1 million cash to go pave parking lots, fix a roof, change some pipes, because they needed those things. $1 million is not going to be spread back between us. They don't need this $300,000. Point two, my son is in the senior year of high school. Okay, he was a part of the biggest class that's ever gone through our school system. 80-some odd kids. They're all graduating next year, most of them. The kids that are going in, I'm involved with soccer, and our sign-ups are low. Because the kindergartners coming in, 57, compared to 80-something. I don't know what next year's sign-ups are going to be, but if it's not 80-something, the number of students are going down. Again, I bet our school taxes will not go down as a result of those two things happening. Schools are fine. Don't worry about the school system. They got the money. They have the ability to increase taxes 2% more per year, which 2% of $18 million is a lot of money. We don't have that.
So, beyond the schools, Avalon Bay has 190 communities from us. They didn't just randomly fall into Bloomingdale because of the tax advantage. I'm sure they did a lot of research before they came to this town, knowing that they could make good profit on the community. Also, they started construction. To me, that means this whole thing is a foregone conclusion, everything's gone. They're not, are they going to walk away if you guys say no to the pilot program? No. They can certainly afford to pay the regular rate of taxes. Clearly, with 190 communities, they're going to offset any kind of shortfall that they might have. It's not going to affect their bottom line to pay their standard tax rate.
And if I may, and I hear you loud and clear, and we hear a lot of that. This is not about how successful Avalon Bay is. This is not about, it's not about the benefit they're ultimately receiving. It is about the benefit the borough is ultimately receiving. And obviously, for us to receive such a benefit, there's going to be a benefit for the developer. There's no question about it. To your point of they're already here. They sued under a builder's remedy. Oh, that's factual. Could they walk? Absolutely. They haven't pulled permits yet. I mean, there's site clearing, and we all, that's obvious. But there's not a permit in front of this borough.
They're digging holes, no.
How can they?
No. Let's try building permits. It's fine. Put building permits. Correct myself. Building permits. There's nothing in front of the, as far as starting to frame and foundations and things like that. So there's no guarantee there. And again, it is simply about being a catalyst for the future. I mean, I'm on the record numerous times that we need to start somewhere. And we need to start, we need to have as a redevelopment corridor, and this is the catalyst that will then result in more growth and probably more incentives to new other developers and meetings like this where residents will be saying, what about me? My taxes are capped, mine are going up. I can get those issues. But this is what Bloomingdale needs to solve our serious financial conditions. And as Councilman pointed out, since this has been in the news, we have heard from
Sure, it's a great deal.
and that's
For them.
and for the borough. That's the point. You keep saying for them.
Yes.
You never finish that by saying and the borough.
And the
Because it's fact, and it's true. It's the only reason we're doing it. Councilman Yazdi's on the record in the beginning discussions is, if this wasn't good for Bloomingdale, nobody up here would be supporting this concept whatsoever. Whatsoever. Of course. So it's not about, everyone has to somehow separate any personal issues they might have against Avalon Bay, for how they got here, why they're here, who they are. Yeah, I don't care about that part. They're here. I want to do what's best for the borough as a result of their being here. That's where we're at today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just say something to Mr. Heemstra?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to, first of all, thank you for taking the time to come, but I wanted to say to you how much I appreciate your development being in Bloomingdale, and I think you're such a positive thing for our town. I've known people who've lived there. You have a great reputation.
25 years.
Yes, what would you expect us to do for you?
That's a question I haven't really thought about. But when I look at my tax rate at 20% of gross revenue, and I look at Avalon's tax rate of 12% of gross revenue, that's almost half.
But it's not 12%. Do the math, 550 plus the 60,
And I,
right? Divide by 700. It's not 12%.
It's less than 20%. What is it then? What's the percentage? It's not 12. You keep saying that the cap is 12%. Starts at 11, goes to 11.5, goes up to 12.
Right, but it's a
So
minimum.
gross, 550, yeah, minimum. Gross revenue, they're saying they're going to make 4 million the first year, and 100.
Gross. Gross.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Gross.
Gross.
how do you compete?
How do you
How do you compete?
Their rents are going to be awfully high for $4 million.
Thank you.
176 units, I'm telling you that.
Average $1,820 per
I hope
year.
the town can support that. But it's money.
But if they can't, this is minimum. Minimum.
Right, you still get your
So if
minimum.
it comes in
I
at,
understand. I understand.
less revenues, then they're gonna pay, I calculated it goes from 16%, they're gonna pay, over 17 to 20% without the right to appeal their tax.
Well, and clearly, Waterfall Village has been a huge part of Bloomingdale for 39 years. And of course, at the end, we want what's was best for the town. What's best for the town was best for the local village. And there's that one last thing we talked about, 20% versus another person.
I understand perfectly. I've got my new assessment.
And we all know that 2012, I'm basing that on 2011.
Oh.
Story. So, and then, again, the whole school situation, which I'm happy to be able to support the schools, but I wish to have a lot of that.
What is your gross revenue?
In 2011, it was 2,200,000 something.
Is that gross or net?
That's
And you're getting
tax bills over
20%,
400,000.
we're getting 20% of your gross?
So approximately, it's actually a little tiny bit above 10%. If I were to give you the exact.
Wow.
How many units do you have?
150.
I wish you were in a redevelopment zone, because this gives us a little bit of county money to pass back.
Maybe you should put a redevelopment zone at the end of Hamburg.
You would have to take it down. It's
I'm not doing that.
It's not going to be cost
That's not
effective.
gonna happen. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you.
Ron Tito, 42 Cove Drive. Just one question for Mr. Yazdi. First, the figure of the amount of money that would be going to the county, the $115,000, is that based on a new valuation or the old valuation? That's on a new valuation. Okay, thank you. That figure, 13.8 million that we were going to realize, I can't accept it that we're going to take that off our children's backs. Because basically, this is money that otherwise would be going to the Board of Education for one reason or another. And I find that extremely hard to get my hands around. And along that line, 10 years down the road, okay, I'm not just, these are going to be arbitrary numbers. I'm going to try to be realistic. But 10 years down the road, okay, if we have 3 children from the project in high school, okay, $45,000 a year in tuition. Is that a tax point? 42,000 tax. 41 tax point that the rest of these people are going to have to pay instead of Avalon Bay. I just don't think it's real. Thank you.
Mr. Pluto, you asked me a question, let me give you an answer. Would that same scenario exist under normal taxes if 3 new children come in? We would have to pay that?
Yeah, but the money would be in the education account.
But they're going to take the 300,000, are they going to tax us more 10 years from now? You bet they are.
I lost you there.
They're going to tax us more because there's more children. That's how we added up to
I don't
18.5
see
million.
how you can justify taking money out of the Board of Education.
We're not taking it out
Normally
of
when this
the
is done, I thought when this pilot program was entered into, the win-win occurred when the town and the developer split the money that was being saved on the county level. And it didn't affect the children of the Board of Education. Maybe I'm misinformed. Thank you.
I think what Mr. Yazdi's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, from following the presentation, the town and the developer aren't splitting what's saved. The town's keeping necessarily the same
100%.
dollars. And when you talk about, you said you could put all the savings in for tax relief, that's for everyone. And what happens is, sometimes you hear certain groups come up and say, well, money just diverted to the schools. We've had people say, I don't have any more children in school. But when you put it all in the general fund, it's for everyone. It's for children, seniors, it's for whatever tax relief you can give across the board so that everyone, you're saying everyone would benefit. It's not that you're taking any money, it's the same amount, but it's all in the general fund as opposed to going in a different direction.
That's absolutely correct. If this plan of selling this cash flow, right, if the state approves it, we get $12 million, get rid of our debt. It makes $1.2 million available to the municipality. We can give $300,000 to education and still save money. This is a no-brainer. the tax savings that we can pass along, if there are children later and we get taxed more on the other side, we gave you the tax savings today. It makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Michael Riley, 21 Pearl Street. I'd like to make a couple of replies to statements that were made in Trends by Kurt Kramer and stored in an article entitled "Borough to See if Pilot Proposal Flies," and this appeared in Sunday, September 2nd Trends. Okay, the first quote was, why is the town, and some of this we've gone through before, but I just formatted this, so I'll just go through it. The first one is a statement of why is this town enticing this type of development it has fought in the past, referring to large-scale rental property. The answer to that is that this development was mandated by the court because Bloomingdale repeatedly failed to implement the required co-op housing regulation. The second statement I wanted to give you is, why would you subsidize it when there is no risk? Meaning no risk to Avalon Bay. They will be collecting rents. Well, the answer to this is, to gain an advantage, you have to give something in return. Avalon Bay gets a lower tax rate, and Bloomingdale collects hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for 30 years it would not otherwise have collected. And this is what you brought up in your presentation. The third sentence I wanted to address is this is a big put down for the existing owners of rental properties. Okay, and my reply to that is Avalon Bay is a high-end upscale lifestyle development, while the Pleasant View apartments and the apartments behind the Triborough Little League are low-end downscale garden apartments. This is two completely separate markets, and I would be actually flabbergasted if these low-end apartments lost any revenue due to Avalon Bay. They're drawing from different populations. I just don't see them losing anything. I think that stating that this is a put down for existing owners of rental properties is a sour grapes response. Avalon Bay is getting a reduced tax rate and is fundamentally profiting from the pilot program. Market forces in the economy are what drive the programs like this. Consumers see this every day when they buy an item this week, and next week it goes on sale for 20% less. So we all face the same situation. Okay, now I'd like to address another article for the Friends that was made on, that was in Wednesday's September 5th edition of the Friends. And the quote is, not only does the town council snatch away Avalon's contribution to the Board of Education, but the council continues to tax the homeowners, as if the council never received this exclusive bonanza source of Avalon Bay payments. Well, it's my understanding the Board of Ed will receive tax revenue on the land, but not on the buildings. And I believe in the first year they're going to get $48,000. Is that the number?
Yes.
So they will be getting money. Okay. Now I also believe that the official estimate for the increase in students.
Excuse me, Mr. Riley on the floor. Yeah, the question, that's every year.
Absolutely. Year one is 48. Of course, as taxes go up and that number goes up, they're going to get more and more and more.
Okay. Now I also understand, and I don't remember where I got this number from, but I thought there was an official estimate that the school population would increase by 12 students.
That was the projected estimate.
Okay. So 12 students can be absorbed into the school system at zero cost. No new teachers or facilities are required, and school taxes will continue to go to the schools on the land's assessed value. About $48,000. We're talking positive cash flow here, at least until they get to high school. In the remote chance the Board of Ed needed money due to the influx of students from Avalon Bay, the council has the ability to fund the Board of Ed. Correct? That's what we're talking about.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to address was the
Bubble.
little bubble. No,
No, he's
was part of the statement that says that a bonanza source of Avalon Bay payments. Well, the bonanza is winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune from a relative. The pilot program, as far as I can see, is well planned, well thought out, and probably required countless hours of planning, negotiating, put together. So going back to the statement, the council continues to tax the asking homeowners is if the council never received this exclusive bonanza of Avalon Bay payments. Considering the program has not been approved by the voters, now this is a statement by Mr. Kramer. Mr. Kramer must be a mind reader or a clairvoyant to state what the council will do without this substantial increase in revenue. But as you cleared up tonight, you pointed out clearly what the town council, the mayor council
We'll make the
will
motion
do with
tonight,
this. Right. Okay.
to turn it all into tax free. That's why I'm here.
Okay. I actually tried to go through Mr. Kramer's calculations, and I just didn't agree with them. And I'm going to let somebody else address that if they wish to. So in conclusion, I just want to say that I believe the pilot program is beneficial to Bloomingdale and will provide hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax revenue on a yearly basis for 30 years that we would otherwise not have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rod, I'm sorry, just a couple comments on what you said is, it's exactly what this is. It's a plan. You know, it's a 30-year plan for the borough that I think has been lacking in the borough. There has been no planning, which is why I think we're in a lot of our predicaments today financially. So this is a plan, a long-term plan to get us, you know, where we financially need to be. And to your question on the numbers in that editorial, yeah, they are inaccurate based on projecting incorrect numbers on what taxes would have been versus what was proposed, what they actually will be on this proposal. Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for making us heard. My name is Gina Nestico. I live in Highcrest Drive, Highcrest Lake, West Milford. I have a business in Bloomingdale for 50 years. 50 years ago, we bought the property and we built Ward's Pharmacy. And we've been working there and trying to maintain and to keep it up. We were the first one to do anything for the town. It was a slum, a real slum. But we put the pharmacy and then we decided we'll take away all that, excuse me, I was going to say crap.
Good thing you didn't.
And we took it where around us, we destroyed and cleaned it, and it cost us a lot of money.
Beautiful.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is the owner of Plaza, 132 and 142 Main Street, okay, Bloomingdale. Okay, so 50 years ago we did this, and we supplied 50 jobs for people to work. And we are now paying 30% of our gross income in real estate property, 30%. And we are now reaching a point, because of trying to collect rent, and we're reaching a point of it's very hard to make things meet now. And we've always been tried to be very loyal to the town of Bloomingdale, and we took pride in that. And so for 50 years, we could have gone elsewhere, but we decided to stay in Bloomingdale. Now, at this time, I really believe you guys owe me some loyalty. Because really, I mean, can I get into this program? You say you can't because I'm not in it. But what do you do? What do you do? You know, to save the 50 jobs, okay, and our investment. What do you do?
First, as the councilwoman earlier stated, it's a waterfall, and sincere. And thank you for making that investment in Bloomingdale, and it is one of the nicest commercial entities in town and on Main Street. Our loyalty to you is doing exactly something like this, because this is how and what will stop the bleeding that you're referring to. What's making it difficult for you to make ends meet because of the tax rate. Our loyalty to you is coming up with a plan, coming up with the revenue needed to stabilize exactly the problem you're referring to. So that comment's to address how can we help you. The comment to address how about you being part of a similar situation. You are,
For the town. It's good for the town. I believe, you know, we can pay all our debts. Well,
right, which will help your taxes. Oh,
yeah,
Wait
but in the meantime,
No, let me, wait a minute.
you know, you can say what you want, but we're all going to be affected by this as well.
In a positive way.
Well, we hope,
Well, that's, and
we hope.
again, that is our goal, and that's why, this is, again, this is the first time, I believe, in Bloomingdale's history where there's been the initiative for positive growth.
You're bringing in people, okay? You're bringing in people. But where are the jobs? Where are the jobs, okay? To sustain what you're doing here. You're bringing in more
Okay,
people.
well, okay, I think
More
I'm
children.
confused. Okay, if you're referring to, the issue tonight is making the best out of what is here, okay? Avalon Bay, again, it's complicated, is here because of an affordable housing issue with the borough not building for 50 years. They were able to, within the law, go through the courts and get the ability to build, because Bloomingdale did not. So those, I'm not dismissing those important questions, but those questions are too late because it's here already. There's nothing I say this many times, no one on this dais, in a sense, brought this here. This is here because of, again, poor planning in Bloomingdale for its history. Not building anything, okay, in the way of affordable housing is why this is here. So now that it's here, I want to make the best friend out of it that we can for the borough. So there's a couple issues here. There's the issue of our loyalty to you is bringing this pilot. You're not bringing Avalon Bay to you, bringing the pilot as a result of Avalon Bay being here, because it will help your taxes. This wasn't a matter of Avalon Bay or something that would produce 70 jobs, a factory or a Walmart. It wasn't a matter of those choices for us. This is here, we're making the best of it to help your taxes. So I just want to separate the issue, because we're not talking about why it's here. We're talking about it's here, so we're going to make the best of it. I want to address your comment about how can you become part of something like this. The problem with existing, what you have existing becoming part of it, is you're just that. You've been in business for 50 years. It's an established building. It's an established, fully established commercial occupancy and building. Though the plan of mine, and I'm sure the support of the governing body, is to make Main Street from the Riverdale Bridge to the very least your intersection, a redevelopment area, which will then entice future development. So how it can help you is by you being in, and our goal is that you will be in a redevelopment area, will not change your current tax structure. But if there comes a time where your family is retiring or deciding to move on, it would absolutely help you entice new development in that same area because of the redevelopment we're looking to propose. So that's how it could help you. Will it change your current tax structure? Can you become in a pilot? The answer is no. Will what we're doing here help you on taxes? The answer is yes.
And I just hope I can hang in.
I'm sorry?
I just hope I can sustain the taxes and everything, because it's very, very hard.
Right.
You cannot get the rents you're supposed to get.
I know. I mean, it's...
So to not pay the water, $600 a year, the water, electricity, so you put people in. And then they can't pay, what do you put them out in the middle of the street? No, because I've been a tenant, and now I have a little landlord here. So I feel for people, and I feel for myself.
No, we
So
feel
it's
for
hard.
you.
It's
and these,
really hard.
Our
It's not an easy.
Our jobs are, and the four of us here have been here. I've been here a year and 8 months, and these guys for 8 months. Our job is to do exactly, make it easier for you. And that is what we're trying to achieve with this idea.
And I thought, let me try.
I'm glad you came. I'm glad I met you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your investment. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Okay, just because, yeah, you would be next, and then the gentleman raise his hand, then we'll go to Mr. Duran, and then Mr. Esley, so we'll go down. Good evening.
I just want to say, I think that this program is fantastic. My husband and I moved to Bloomingdale and bought a house in '99, and over a matter of probably the first 10 years that we lived there, our taxes tripled. And I'm for anything that's going to stabilize my taxes at this point. I think it's a fantastic program, and I've gone through these numbers. And if you look at these numbers, where what we would normally get under normal taxation versus what we're going to get under the pilot program, this is a no-brainer. This, in my book, is a no-brainer. Is there a benefit to Avalon Bay? I don't know, and to be perfectly honest, I could care less. The benefit is to me and my family. I have little children in the school system. They're small, and they've got a long way to go in the school system. And they're going to be getting my money, and they're going to be getting your money and your money. And I'm fine with that. And I'm comfortable knowing that if the Board of Ed comes to you and says, we need money, and you're telling me that you're going to give them the money that they need, then I think that that's great. I think this is a fantastic program. And I think that this is something that should be voted on and passed. You know, I can't foresee our taxes going up anymore. Like, we can't afford it anymore. So if this is going to stabilize our taxes, I think it's great. And I just, you know, I felt that I needed to have my say. And I think it's great what you guys are doing. And I applaud you for going after this.
Thank you. Actually, Peter, before you go, the man in the blue shirt, he's had his hand up.
Go ahead. You can go and then go. I'll go after you.
Then Carla, and then Mike.
Eagle Borough, 12 East Shore Road, Canterbury. As you, I am a taxpayer in Bloomingdale. And if I don't like my tax assessment, I appeal it. And so are other people. If they don't like it, they can appeal it. But what happens if the appellants win? You don't have the money. And so you will have to take the money from where you can. And all the figures and all the good intentions about paying bonds off goes out the window. Because none of that talk, none of that talk is binding. It's not binding. It's what you think today you'd like to do if you get that money tomorrow. Now, Avalon is a taxpayer like I. If they don't like their taxes, they can appeal it. If they haven't appealed it, they might like what they pay. No one comes to me and offers me a tax abatement for the next 30 years. I don't think it's a good idea to do that to Avalon. And I tell you now why. First, if I understood right, Passaic County will get about $100,000 less, maybe more. Now, a good, strong Passaic County is good for us. The county has been good for us in maintaining the roads, in providing transportation for the seniors when they need it, to hospitals, when they needed it for jury duty, whatever. What's more, the county was good to you a few years ago when the planning board was about to approve a multifamily development of Glenville Avenue, and the borough discovered that we needed it in the worst possible way for park. And the county came to our help and gave us money. And that land was acquired. And it's a park today. So I don't see at all biting the hand that feeds you is a good idea. Now, second, about an equal amount of money that the county would lose, Avalon Bay will gain. That's what they would pay less taxes. Well, frankly, like the lady before me said, I don't give a hoot. Avalon Bay has more resources than I and all people in this home put together have. Why should I worry about it? If they don't like their taxes, they cannot deal with it. Now, the next reason, well, I don't think it's a good idea is because the Board of Education is going to lose money. They're going to lose millions of dollars over the next 20 years. But worse than that, I thought it was funny when you said that they don't need money. I haven't seen in my 55 years of working in this state as a planner, a Board of Education that didn't need money. But be that as it may, we elect you to office and we elect them to the Board of Education. No way should workers in this town be party to something that will give the board, the governing body and the mayor the power over the Board of Education when the Board of Education has to come to the mayor and council hat in hand asking for money. That just should not be able, not should happen. But what you said was, at least it was stated in the papers, and sometimes it's true what's in the papers, that if the Board of Education will need money, they'll come to the mayor and council, and of course, if it's true that they need that because of the enrollment at Avalon Bay, they'll get the money. But it should never come to that. And finally, it's always said that cases like these, each case stands on its own. But again, in all my years of work, public work, I have learned that any case that's different than all the other cases before it establishes a precedent. Now, it was said to you before that whatever is decided here will establish a precedent for Federal Hill. And the answer was, very properly, each case stands on its own. But I'll ask you, why is Mr. Miller sitting there in the first row if it's not establishing a precedent? For all the reasons I gave you, I believe proceeding with the pilot program is not in the best of interest of the borough.
Mr. Mayor, I ask you to address Mr. Duran's comments. I have to use the restroom, and then I will go back and address the comments as well.
Mr. Duran, quick question. We're paying about $300,000 a year in interest costs to banks. Rich banks. Does it make you feel any better that they're giving our money instead of some other company? We're going to parlay the money we get from this business, right? The additional money that we get, we're going to parlay that money to reduce your taxes, right? Board of Education, if they need money, and if we were able to reduce your taxes on this hand, and they needed money, and they increased our taxes in the other hand, at the end of the day, it's our taxes. Do you really care what happens with this portion of your tax versus that portion of your tax bill? At the end of the year, what you care about is your total tax bill, right?
No. At the end of the year, what matters is what happens to the money that's being collected. And I don't trust you, sir, and I don't trust the mayor and the board more than I can. Nor do I trust future board of governing boards because I don't know who they will be. What we are talking about is having discretionary funds for the mayor and council. No, let's just have normal taxes. That's my answer to your question. It's not their money, it's not our money.
So I sat here and showed you a way to reduce our money, and your answer is because you don't like me, or you don't like the mayor, you rather Give the county the
Oh, I love
employees.
it, because it's in his life.
No, you don't trust us.
Just one person.
Right.
No offense.
No,
I'm just telling you the truth.
right, but you know what? Besides all that, I still want my taxes to go
When it
down.
comes to next year or 5 years from now, and the indebtedness hasn't been reduced, you'll be said, well, we had a drought, we had negotiations with the police, we had tax appeals that we didn't expect, and there were all the unexpected things and all the things that the mayor and council cannot help. You have to meet the emergencies. I understand that. Everybody in his right mind understands. But what we are talking about is gerrymandering funds here.
Mr. Durant, I just gave you,
Let me get along with that.
I just gave you a plan that I want to go in front of the state. The bond council asked that we get together, means our auditor, myself, and our attorney, go in front of the state, tie up every penny of this money to paying down our debt, getting rid of it. It would benefit us $1.2 million in the $10 million budget, 12% reduction in our cost. I'm not looking to put any of it in my pocket or the mayor's pocket. This is all for us. It's not a matter of trust, it's a matter of common sense.
The theory is true, but you cannot guarantee me or these people that that's what's going to happen, and that's what I'm saying.
So therefore, give it away.
Absolutely.
And your
Do
example,
what you know, what you can guarantee.
and your example of saying, I repeal my taxes, whether we gave a pilot program or normal taxes, that's going to happen. And the fact that we don't have the money, the fact that we don't have this extra 300,000 or 400,000 would make it even tougher. So I don't understand that.
We don't have it because it's not ours. It's not even due to us. This program hasn't even been conceived for towns like us. It's been considered for the inner cities with slums and minorities and underprivileged people. And if we try to say that the land that is in question here,
We found a tax loophole to benefit the rest of us, and now it comes down to a simple matter of trust. Thank you for your time.
and it's not right.
Mr. Durant, Mr. Vandenberg just had a comment.
Mr. Durham, I just want to point out one thing. You made the comment that
I'm sorry?
you made the comment that the Board of Education never have to come to the town council for any money for the school. Every defeated school budget comes before the town council and they fix that. That process has been in place forever.
That's right, but here in this particular case, they would have to come to you, as I understand, proving what the additional enrollment is caused by Avalon Bay, transmitting that into dollars and cents increased need for a Board of Education, and then come to you and says, please give me that money. And I say, that is gone.
So when all those defeated school budgets happened in the past, and the council ordered it, and the borough auditor ordered them, and the council made a decision whether those school budgets should be funded, nothing's changed.
No difference.
There's absolutely no difference.
No, it's not, because that is standard procedure and this is not. And all I'm saying is we should stay with the tried and proven standard procedure and not start meddling which is not established, because it's not for our benefit.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, actually, Ronald, you want to say something, and then Mr. Esselino, I know you had your hand up, and then Mr. Dale, I'll get to you. Here, my name is Carlo Ledoux, 81 South Lake Road, Bloomingdale. I'm just looking at those numbers and looking at what is in front of us. And I've been in this town since 1996, and actually this is the first time I see something go out there, close to the town. I see all the parties that came to the table, and they were always turned down. I understand that, fortunately, we're in a situation that everybody's getting, we all paying high taxes. The question is how we're going to stop this. That's the answer right there. That's the key to start something for all the companies, all the community to get involved and generate revenue, money. You cannot start a car if you don't put gas on it, right? You cannot go to the bank and take money out if you don't put money in the bank. I had a choice to move to Bloomingdale, to move to Borough. I chose to stay in Bloomingdale. You know why? Because I love Bloomingdale. My daughter went from first grade, now she's in college. And I'm very proud of that. Bloomingdale gave me that opportunity. You know what? That program goes through to be the key for an industrial park. Businesses. No people. Businesses. People to come here and work and generate money so we don't have to pay high taxes. What is done is done. We cannot go back. Simple as that. We cannot go back. We need to stop now. And I think that's the key for a lot of development in this town. Go around. If you don't believe me, go around. Go to Bowling, Kindergarten. Go to all the town. They all got businesses. They all got, they generate money. The company that I work for, I worked 10 years in Secaucus. Go to Secaucus now. The only way you're going to stop the taxes to going high, you have to bring some type of revenue into the town. The other thing is this, who knows, if this didn't work, and I know it's going to work. I know it's going to work. Maybe businesses should come here, and the people that already have businesses in here, they could get a tax break. I would love to see that. The lady that passed through here, 50 years in this town, for the business. I applaud her for that. But if you don't have the resources, you don't have the money to do that, how are you going to do it? This is the beginning. And for those people that say they will trust you or they will trust, I'm sorry, but what's the rest of the country? If this is so important, where they are. Because people in town, they're all here. Most of the people are here. But it's for good or bad, they're here. I don't see the rest of the, we're missing 3 people. This is Bloomingdale. And if people think, knock this down, it's going to get better, I think they're going to have to wake up and smell the coffee. Because this is the start, the solution to our problems. Look at the numbers. I never heard that 2 plus 2 is 17, right? 2 plus 2 is 4. It will never be 5, it will never be 7. Math, we don't lie. Numbers are perfect. Guaranteed life? Nobody got a guaranteed life. Can anybody here guarantee me that when they walk out of this door, they're going to be here tomorrow? No. So we have to look forward. We got to look at the big picture here. The opportunity is right in our hand. So let us slip. Fight for it. I believe it, and there's a lot of people in town believe it. Fight for it. Don't let it go. Okay? Thank you.
Can I just say something? Would you please tell Julie that I'm proud of her too?
I know. I know. She was my daughter's teacher. And she asked about you.
Yeah.
And you know what? You did a great job.
Well, so did you, because she was terrific.
Thank you. This is Bloomingdale. This is a family. Whether you like it or not, this is a family. We're all in the same boat. What are we going to do about it? Sit or go forward? And I believe we're going to go forward. I trust you, and I trust the people who will do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Who else? I'm sorry, Mr. Eslino, you had your hand up next, then Mr. Dale, and then...
second time around, you gotta hold up, you gotta make sure everyone goes once, before you go twice. Yes.
Mike Gasolino, 15 Birch Road. I congratulate you, the mayor, and the people responsible for bringing this to the town. I do have questions I'd like to go over. I think after all the animosity on both sides, which we are reflected in this town by the video every time I watch it, which embarrasses me to no end, at least we have some people here who are willing to work. And I chastise the people who aren't here. And I don't know if the Board of Education is here, but I certainly would welcome their response to a plan like this. So that's either condemnation or condemnation. So here's my questions for you.
Before you go to your question, let me ask you this. Do you think that if the Board of Education needed all this money, they would have been here?
I think the Board of Education, just like a town, needs as much as it could get, goes after as much as it could get, and is never satisfied with what they get.
So the fact that they're not here, does that tell you anything?
I think it's an embarrassment. I don't
It tells me something.
think beyond that. I do know that it costs a lot of money to educate students, and it never goes down. We talked about the gross revenue of being $4 million.
It's an estimate, yep.
Okay, but when I take that estimate and I take 174 units roughly,
It's not gross, it's a gross revenue, not gross rental revenue.
It
okay?
comes out to like $19.50 per month, right?
Right.
Yeah, but the
What's
math
the
is
difference
actually...
then?
Well, the pilot's based on gross revenue.
Right.
Anything from a vending machine to recycling revenue to fitness club fees to, dues, assessments, et cetera, et cetera. So it's
Okay.
total revenue.
So,
So rent itself would be about 3.8 million, and this revenue is,
okay, $3.867 million, that's 95% of the $4 million figure, which we had talked prior about what is considered full capacity. That still leaves us a rent of $18.52 a month. I am kind of surprised at that high figure, considering the other rental units in town. I don't think they charge as much.
but it's a different product.
I understand that. So I'm concerned about that figure because to have this grow, that gross revenue figure that we discussed has to be substantiated to get us past the minimum.
Wait, the fact that they're asking for $18.20, will that help the other rental locations or will that hurt them?
I would imagine
it's
it
gonna help them,
it would help the other
That's
locations.
another,
But we're talking about,
wouldn't help.
we're talking about this place.
Understood, I just want to kind of refer it back.
Because I'm trying to get away from the minimum amount and raise it to the maximum amount allowed under this. So I find that hard to substantiate with the figures at 1852 or 1945 rental per month. The other part I really question is if we have 174 units and they say they have 12 students, that's one child in a school for every 14 and a half units roughly. I think that's the gross under count.
And what do you base that on?
I base that on how many students we have in this school system, how many homes we have.
Coming out of single family homes, not,
Okay, and
you heard Waterfall Village say they have minimal students in there.
how many do they have?
154 units, excuse me, Mr. Waterfall, how many students?
I knew that was coming.
Let's just say a handful.
Okay, let's take a handful.
Less than 12?
That's an approximate, yes.
Less than 12.
Okay,
Out of
Approximate.
154 units.
we're going to have 12 with 20 more units. The point is, I still think it's an undercount.
But again,
Okay.
and I ask you what you're basing that on, because you're basing it on existing school population, which is driven 99% from single-family
You know,
homes.
it's hard to me to go out and get the statistics on these things. But I
We have.
I took,
That's what I was
okay,
knowing.
and where did you get them from?
Well, from the,
Rutgers study of 82.
I mean,
Yes,
Oh.
we're still using the Rutgers
Well,
study of 82.
yeah, 1982?
Well, I'm just guessing.
I don't know. I don't know
I
if
thought
that's
you guys
the-
were
I thought it was
McBride
more.
projects.
I don't know where that statement came from.
Okay.
Or from me. I'm saying
No, as far as
I
whether
sat
it
on
was
it,
fact, that's
McBride.
McBride was what year?
Well, the COA was
Point it.
85, and I'm talking about even before that.
What?
It's the same studies being used.
Part of it is from planning board testimony. Part of it is from looking at the demographics of Avalon Bay projects. You know, they're statistically, and don't quote me on these exact numbers, but you know, high 30% is single professional female, low 30% is single professional male. You know, I believe it's less than 12% are young married couples with no children or infant age children. And then you have your empty nesters are a big chunk of that type of renter. They're unit C. You have 1, 2-bedroom primarily units. You know, a second level in one. It's not conducive for a family of 4 kids or 3 kids. You're not going to see the production of students out of this type of unit.
Mr. Mayor.
Because of the type of product that it is.
I'm not knocking.
No. You asked me to got the numbers.
Right. And I'm just questioning the numbers. So if you got those numbers, then what's the average rental cost in the tri-borough area? Do we get any numbers on that?
3 bedrooms going for over $2,000. 2 bedrooms going for $1,950. That's what real estate agents are quoting today.
Okay.
So you're going to get 1820 a unit? I think so. Is that going to help the other rental units in town? I think so.
All right.
It's a plus, plus, plus. There is no loss.
Okay, the realtor I spoke to, lower numbers. There's differences.
No, there is, absolutely. There's units in waterfront
But you did
villas
your
that can sell
research,
you.
which is the main thing. I mean, who else brought something to this town? You guys went out, you did your research, you people are listening. What more can I ask? So I went over the numbers. So I'm concerned about the schools, like I said.
One more comment on the school.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone always talks about the number of students that could come in. No one ever talks about the number of students that are going out. And I just gave you the example that my son happened to be the unlucky one in a group of the biggest class that's ever gone through. They're all graduating, most of them hopefully, graduating this year, and the numbers that are going in are a lot lower. What if there is a 20 or 30 kid, number reduction next year?
Yeah, you're correct, because America's population is shrinking.
Right.
Okay, however, we just had St. Andrew's closed, right? That's St. Anthony's closed. And that's an aberration, but it shows you what could happen. My concern about the school is not that number of students per se, even though it isn't major. It is a
It's the
concern.
cost, right.
It is a special education student that could cost this town hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. One student, okay? You have few students. The school will be easier. So because the school board isn't here now, maybe we say that's their fault. But unfortunately, as a taxpayer, it will be our responsibility to carry that in. So I think it's a legitimate question, and
Okay, regular taxes or pilot, that can happen tomorrow.
yes, and
It
that's
doesn't really make a difference.
this is why at the Tuesday meeting I presented you with the current school budget, so someone can look over it, especially the $1.5 million spent on special education, not including bilingual education and other things that Bloomingdale, the small little town, has to pay. Okay. So I would like to say, sir, Mr. Duran, is that his name?
Yes, Peter Durant.
I think he's an eloquent spokesman, and I'd like to say this. I think
Except he doesn't trust me. I was in the restroom.
I can't blame him. I can't blame him. I trust you explicitly. But here's the problems I see as a taxpayer and a voter, registered Democrat. I listened to those. I listened to last week the Republican convention, and I listened this week, and I think unlike everyone else, you can't believe a single word I'm hearing. So I would like to rather see an amendment put into this. Unfortunately, because 30 years is too long, I would like to see an amendment that says this is used expressly, every cent that this town collects on the Avalon Bay pilot program is used for debt reduction, non-emergency use, but as many conditions or whatever is allowed by law tax relief in the town, because there is no trust. There's too many arguments between these two sides. And a show of faith would be to draft something like that. I congratulate you on doing something positive. I don't know where I would vote. You people have the facts. You could consider it. It seems... I don't like Avalon Bay. I don't know how they got to knowing low and moderate income housing.
It has nothing to do with the pilot, so we're not...
Okay. The point is, here's, people came in, we had a court mandate by these people that attached themselves, and then they wanted more. So this is, John, this is how it gripes us, I think.
Then I need to inform you of, which is not, we're here for a pilot, we're not here for the planning board process.
But the people who are getting the pilot are the ones who also got the other deal, which affects the town in the long run, because we won't have a sufficient Mount Laurel quota in our housing. It affects all of us.
We wouldn't have
We won't meet our quota.
We wouldn't have met it with 15%.
I understand that. We would have been how many closer though?
15.
No, it's, what, 27 and 9? Thank you. Good luck.
I don't think we'll be here an hour on that.
No.
It's too long of a discussion.
Yes.
There's reasons why there's a reduction in Mount Laurel. The borough benefited from the reduction in Mount Laurel, and I will fill you in on those facts.
Okay.
Which are public facts, it's just not the time to do it under the privacy.
Yes.
I know Mr. Semero will stop me if I say something I shouldn't be saying. But some of those concerns we addressed when we first heard this presentation Tuesday night. And one of the concerns was, how can we guarantee that this money will be used to pay down debt? I think that kind of alludes to the trust problem too. And we can pass an ordinance to do that. However, we were told that if we do that, subsequent councils can change that ordinance.
Well, by making an ordinance, it would put those subsequent councils surely in the limelight for doing something so egregious.
And you'd have to advertise and have a public hearing.
Just so you know that what you're thinking, it's good to hear everybody's input. There's new stuff all the time. But just so you know that a lot of these concerns have been brainstormed and are still being considered.
Mr. Esposito, also for the pilot, our auditor came to us and recommended this back in February. So Avalon Bay didn't come to us. We started the conversation from our auditor's recommendation and thought it was good for us to get involved with some ways to help us out. So that's how it all started. And now we are where we are today.
We actually approached that.
I have to disagree with some of that. We sat with the auditor with the budget, and we were begging him to give us ideas on how to bring in revenue, save money, and that was, he had no opinion, as does our lawyer hasn't an opinion. They give us information, and we are the legislators who act on opinions, and this was one of his. As it was negotiated and developed, this is the outcome of that, but it was just one of many things that he gave us to look at.
I thank you all for the comments. I thank you all for your hard work. I hope it's successful.
Sounds like you're for it as long as we spend it the right way.
There's only so many other guarantees I could ask for, and,
It will help every single one.
look, we all have our trepidations, but I don't see anything else on the horizon. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, before we continue, just to address Councilwoman Shortman's comments, the recommendation was amongst many from the auditor, some of which were actually to tax you to pick up your garbage, which we weren't going to look at that one. This is something that is viable, we will do. But we did reach out prior to these meetings on September 4th, an email from our auditor. In my opinion, from strictly financial perspective, the pilot isn't an advantage to the municipality. So, there's an opinion. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? please come up. And someone who hasn't spoken, if you're on your second round, you have to wait.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay? Just gotta get everyone in. Mr. Gill, you've been waiting patiently, then Mr. Kramer, then Mr. Fitzpatrick, then the hand up, and then Mr. Simone. Yes, sir, how are you? I haven't seen you.
Okay, yourself?
Very well.
Handling this pretty good. Leonard Dale from Reeve Avenue. Greg, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. In the sense of the money that we owe in bonds or loans, how much is that?
12 million.
12 million, is that gross or net? Principal. What's
That's
the
principal.
That's principal?
That's principal. We have over 6 million, between 6 and 7 in bonds, and, you know, the recent approvals of 1.8 million to fix our flooding, there was, you know, roads and construction, and there was, you know, many spendings over the last 2 years, and to build it right back up as well.
I thought you were giving the amount when you pay the interest on that. You're saying, no, that's the principal end of all the money that we owe. Okay, on that other subject that you brought up about this company, these loan companies want to take over because they see that you're going to get this money to pay that off. How is that going to work?
Yeah, usually, this is what a business does, right? If they got a guaranteed source of funds, they can take that to a bank and cash it in. It's kind of like you're winning the lottery, right? The cash value is worth more than getting it paid over time. Somebody will come and even pay you on your ticket before you go and claim it, right? They buy it off you. It's the same thing. You can take that cash stream and cash it in. However, there are rules and regulations. There are many of them. The finance board will sit there and say, your bond was on a vehicle that's supposed to depreciate over 5 years. You want to take a 30-year loan to pay that off? Not going to happen. That's why when I was speaking with our bond counsel, he finds this so intriguing, the whole concept and the idea. He said, he would bypass that and go directly to the state. He sees something that he didn't want to go into with me. He wants to get our auditor, our attorney, and...
Councilman, if I may, just to separate the two issues.
Yep.
On the table, what can be done, and this is the plan, is take the increased pilot money and direct invest into paying down debt, borrowing less to fix our current financial situation. Councilman Yazdi has this brilliant idea beyond that. So I want to make sure that's, we're not coming in here with a plan that we don't know if we can get approved. There's the plan of taking the money, dealing with our problem. Then the councilman's concept, which has been proposed recently to bond council. You know, I don't even want to report on that because it's in the early stages. It was intriguing. It was something that is a brilliant idea if it can be achieved. If it can't, I don't want to separate. I don't want to merge those two. They're separate ideas. We stay where we are. We're taking our money. We're investing and paying down and so on. If this happens, it's just an additional, you know, bonus from this.
You can't look into that further before you make a decision on this vote here tonight?
I would say no, personally, in my opinion, is because even if that is a no, we still want to do a pilot to get the increased revenue to pay down debt regardless.
And
it's not a matter of that idea or regular taxes.
Well, the reason why I brought it up, Mayor, the bond council's comments were clear. He said, once you get past your approvals, this has to go to state. The state has to approve this whole thing. Once you have your state approval, come back and go have that conversation at the state level. You can't go have what-if conversations, right? What if we did this, and then, oh, if the response is going to be positive, then we go back and approve it. Right? Right. So we need the approval to have that conversation and give ourselves that huge mess.
So have you looked at it without doing that? How many, being the income that we're going to get per year for 5 years up to 30 years, how much of that and how long would it take to pay that off?
It's an extra $400,000 that we're getting right now in this development. You start paying down an extra $400,000 on our, you know, we can't pay off bonds because they're set and there's rules and regulations. You can't pay those any faster. You can pay off your notes, right? The money that we borrowed, which is about $5 million right now, before we turn them into bonds. So you can restructure your debt and include this right in there.
But the key is now, you don't give me a time element. that you can do this over.
12 years.
That's what I'm looking
When would we pass
for.
the,
If it's passed,
if it's passed, I will immediately make the motion to spend every single penny of this benefit for all of our tax relief.
strictly for that now.
Absolutely.
And again, you can't come up with a time element of that 30 years, how long it would take to pay.
Oh, that process, I don't know how long this thing takes before they come back.
No.
and do it.
In other words, taking the money, to pay down the notes, prepaying principal that quickly on the notes, you could probably pay that debt down in.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
But if you had estimates,
It's taken us this long to get
right.
to
I'd
that.
just say 8 to 10
To
years.
get then
Well, to me,
start to do that.
that's a very important thing for the people to understand.
Yep.
Because they're all talking about the money that where taxes are the way they are. And the more that is done, the quicker it's done.
Sure.
The quicker our deficit and our tax rate is going to go down.
That's right.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
We shrink that 300,000 of interest we're paying. The faster we shrink that, the better off we all are.
That's what I'm asking.
That's exactly
Principal and the interest, because that interest is high. It's outrageous. I'm sure you're right. Know that if you look at your bills and you see the past ones on mortgages that you held in the mortgage. So that's the key, and that's what I would want to know. If you could only quickly come up with a time element, a figure, how long it would take for
How
that.
long it would take to catch up, yeah, it's
I
a
think
complex,
it's a very
but I
important
can
thing for the
absolutely
people
do it.
that know that they can look forward, because they're all looking forward, when am I going to see this? And if they get this, and you're, of course, obviously you're saying we're going to do it, so we're going to go there, that's one thing. But to give them that time element and how much it's going to be when it goes down to zero, say. So that's an important thing, and I would appreciate it if you could look at.
Well, now, let's be totally honest, right? The time element of before it becomes zero. If tomorrow we have another flood, like we had a few years back, and we have to go bond more money to fix, to get our residents out of the trouble we're in, right? It's going to add to the time. So, it's not an exact guarantee.
You don't have to look at, because people would see that themselves. I'm talking about the reality things that we have right now, nothing else but reality. This is what you're asking us to want this thing to change, and I'm willing to do that. But that's the only main thing that I want to know is how long do you think it's going to be? And it's great if it could go through that other thing that you said.
Well, the other option would be, immediate.
It'd be immediate, and it'd be immediate impact.
Mr. Dale, whether that calculation, paying down your notes, because that's what you pay down, was 8 years or 10 years, is,
Still
really,
But at the point where we're at right now is, what is it, 16, you said, 16, 14, 12 million that we're in debt. I mean, we want to see that down. I mean, that's because this is a good way, like that other guy said, is to down it. But again, he said, who can we trust? Or we're going to pass it, we're going to sign an ordinance? No, we want it. So that's why I'm saying to give us an estimate time that this is going to go. You don't have to have this done tonight. Come up with an estimate time.
absolutely, and under regular taxes, none of that would even be an option, because you would be netting about 100 grand to the borough. You'd be paying down no debt under normal taxes. So it's like, I don't trust you, how am I going to trust you what you're going to do with that money? So don't do it, just take 100 and do nothing with it. That's not a solid argument.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Anyone else, please? Mr. Graff, I see you in hand up, and I'll come back to you, Mrs. DeLazier. We'll go, Mr. Graff, Mr. DeLazier, then I have two gentlemen in the back.
Thank you. Good evening, William Graff, 8 Linden Lane. We live in Bloomingdale about 42 years or so, and I've got to tell you guys, this is one of the proudest moments coming here to a council meeting in a long time. I want to applaud you, I really want to, for taking the opportunity and New Jersey's local redevelopment and housing laws, and together with the planning board, identifying the Avalon Bay site as an area in need of redevelopment, declaring it a redevelopment area, right, and then making it eligible because of that to develop and negotiate a pilot program like this. There's been so much discussion about Avalon Bay, but as you said, John, and others have said, truth be known, that who cares whether it's Avalon Bay or some other developer? it's the benefit to Bloomingdale that really counts, which means the benefit to us. Yeah, certainly we want quality developers, we want developers that are highly successful, and we want them to do a good job. But the bottom line is what's the benefit to us? I don't really care what the developers call. So really, it certainly appears, Ray and John and Linda and John, that you guys have negotiated a pilot program that really works and is of significant benefit to Bloomingdale. And for that, I think you all, as the governing body, are to be congratulated. Yeah, there are nuances here and nuances there, and there are details to be ironed out. But I would have trust in the governing body to do that. And I think that's why we put you here, and we've asked you to go here and represent us. So I think this is one of the proudest nights for people coming to council meetings that perhaps they can have. And once again, I applaud each and every one of you for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I'm going to go to Mrs. DeLazier. Okay, I'm going to go to Mrs. DeLazier first because she's up front. And here we go. And then we'll go, you guys, three guys back there to work it out. Good evening.
Now, when are they given their tax bill? What point? When is completed?
Substantially completed with CO issue.
That would take like a year.
Right, by the end of next year,
End of next year.
we're going to start seeing that.
And this money goes into a fund. Do they make, it says annual payments, is that?
I was referring, this is annual payments comparison to the chart we put out there. It's quarterly payments. Taxes are paid quarterly, right? The decision is not annually. So when I'm showing 550,000, I don't want somebody walking away. So I get 550,000 if they finish at the end of 2013? No, it's quarterly.
That's
So
the annual amount of money that will be
137,000.
paid
Oh, so okay.
over a quarterly basis.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
make quarterly installments the same
So
time
it would be
the
the
taxes.
same as tax.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said it's 1,800 and what per unit?
20 average.
820?
Yep.
How much is it for the low cost?
Well, that's it. That's what's factored in. That's an average rent. 1820 is an average. Some may be 2,100, some may be 1,900. The low income may be 800. And I don't know the exact number, but the average is 1820.
How many bedrooms in the low cost?
Again, this little planning board, is that all?
I thought it was 3.
Those are the only three
Those are the only three that,
So that's how many
no,
units?
I mean, Councilwoman, I mean,
Well, I thought that's what I read, that the,
I mean, actually,
from the planning board.
Chairman of the planning board, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. You know,
I think 10% has to be 3-bedroom, and 10% 1-bedroom.
okay,
I forget the mix right now.
No, the mix is actually, my name's Ron Liddell, I'm with Avalon Bay. The mix is set by statute. We have 9 affordable units. Of that number, up to, not to exceed 20% will be 1-bedroom, not to exceed 20% will be 3-bedroom, and the balance will be 2-bedroom. In addition, among those 9 units, it will be split between low income and moderate income, and the exact rent that we're able to charge is set by state statute. It changes every year, and in fact, the borough will also appoint an administrator that will administer those 9 units all at our expense. And the people that are interested in those 9 units actually don't contact us. They will contact an administrator, receive the rental application, and then they're qualified, and the administrator is actually the one that approves the people for those 9 low and moderate units.
which we spoke about the other evening,
Yes.
with that information.
Yeah, I got your information.
Thank you, Mr. Liddell.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. DeLeo. Mr. Kramer, you want to go? Then the guys have to have the walk. Good evening. State your name and address for the record.
Kramer, Pine Tree Road. The other
tonight, Mr. Yossi encouraged me to, that if I could endorse the program, he would welcome it. But I did look on your town website, and I looked at the annual debt statement, which was for 2010. And I see they listed $9 million in 2010. You're telling us it's another 3 with notes?
No, it's actually, we paid off some of that, right, but we took out new ones.
You rotated.
There's more
You
money.
rotated that, it's a little higher. But also in this debt statement for 2010, it says that the Board of Education has roughly more than 3 times the debt, the bond debt, that the town has. It has $29 million in debt.
Board of Ed has no. Zero.
Board of Ed has no debt? Maybe I'm...
Just a little bit, but nothing that.
How come, what is the 29 million? Is that true? No debt?
Zero debt.
The board has no debt?
Board of Education has 0 debt.
Well, I would like to know what the 29 million...
Sir, you bought the document. I have no idea. If it's a borough debt statement, the borough debt statement wouldn't refer to Borough Board of Ed debt, which is non-existent. Okay, you want to let me take a look at it?
Very good, because
I wanted to look at it.
you know, if the Board of Education has $30 million in debt, you have 10, you know, why take money from the board?
I agree.
If you're worried about debt. Yeah.
But that's not the case at all. They just spend $1 million doing improvements, and they don't have anything towards them improvements. They may or may not, but...
Is that true?
Yeah, it is essentially true, yes. I would not say exactly $0 and 0 cents, but
Oh, great.
it's
Okay.
it's certainly not 7 figures. Or 8, which is what you saw. So, I mean, I don't have my business administrator handy, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it
I'll
is
grant you,
not significant.
you've been struggling with, you're focusing on where the debt is.
I want to get down to that.
Right.
So can you support the program?
Well, I've written a letter.
Sir, just please address the chair.
This gentleman was worried, concerned about my letter, that maybe I have sour grapes. You know, my interest in it was strictly sort of trying to bring facts and numbers to my neighbors so that everybody would be well informed in this situation. I don't really have...
You definitely bought numbers.
Pardon?
You definitely bought numbers.
Right. Now, numbers, okay? You told me the other night, Mr. Mayor, that this building, that you're giving them an assessment of $19 million.
From our tax assessor based on the estimated tax.
Right. Now, and you're telling me that they're going to gross $4 million. And if you divide 19 million by 4 million, you get a factor, an assessment multiplier of 4.8. 4.8 times 4 million is 19 million. Okay? Now, if you go through the book, the tax book, those assessments for Bloomingdale, and you look at all the existing apartments, they all have an assessment factor of at least 6, or in that range.
I believe the answer to that question, Mr. Attorney, help me wrong, is because their expenses
Yeah,
are
great.
greater.
I always say, we say this in tax court, you can't compare assessments because we don't know if those values are wrong. You just, you can't do that. If you have sales and things like
I'm
that.
saying, yeah.
I can't sit here and do that on anybody's value because you don't know if their value's right or wrong. So I think it's really in the abstract.
Well, there's a concrete fact that if you were to get, Mr. Heemstra's building, for example, he grosses, he's at 2.2 million, and he's assessed at 15 million. So he's got a factor of, in other words, 2.2 times 6.2 is the 15 million, something like that. He's in the range of 6. All the buildings, mountaintop, you know, you go around town, Catherine Street, my building, were all assessed at 6 times our running annual rent. And for you to come along and tell us that this system is going to work based on an assessment where Avalon Bay is assessed at only 4.8 times gross income. You only use that kind of a assessment multiplier if you've got an old building down in the worst part of Patterson.
Or affordable housing. Do your building have affordable housing in there? Does your building have affordable housing?
No. In other words, this is somebody made a mistake. This is just a plain old-fashioned mistake. They should be assessed at 6.8, 6.5 times the 4 million that they were estimating for that. So unless you plug the correct number into this, we don't really know how much of the normal income taxation would come to the town. You ended up, based on 19 million, you ended up with $700,000 annual tax into the coffers of the town under normal taxation. But if you plug in the correct factor of 6.8 or 6.5 at least, it should be higher than any of the other old units in town are assessed at. You're going to come up with, they should be paying at least under normal assessment that's equalized between them. You said the other night, Mrs. Shortman, that it seemed funny there was only 19 million when they're advertising and they're going to put in 30 million into the project. So they should be assessed at 25 million. You know, and you should...
Mr. Kramer, let me just say, you know, from a standpoint of just trying to get the facts here, we went through this very careful analysis and we consulted with the tax assessor to go through this. And there are affordable units in this project. And that factors into it. So when you factor all this into it, that's what the tax assessor came up with. That's not a number we got from the developer. It's not a number we got from anybody on this governing body. I went to the tax assessor, and that's the number we got. So I don't think it's fair for you to get up and say, well, there's some type of ratio, when in fact that doesn't exist. You just can't compare assessments without understanding exactly what goes into it. And Mr. Townsend prepared an income approach and came out with his value. And you know, there's just no formula where you start multiplying times the revenue to come up with assessments. It just doesn't work that way. I'm just saying, someone could be for or against this, but it's not fair to suddenly say, there's no way we can argue and say anything different than what the tax assessor came up with. That was his number. That's the number that was most likely going to go, in a very small range, go on his tax roll. We don't have control over the tax assessor. We've all seen that this year with the revamp. We do not have a say. That's the number he was going to use. When it comes to this analysis, it's really case closed with that part of the formula. There's no negotiation to that. That's his independent number. He doesn't really even work. He works for the state as an employee, actually of the state.
Okay.
So that's the end of it.
I hear you.
Okay.
He's an authority. I'm a layman. You know, my only experience is having gone out and put money down on, 3 or 4 apartment houses in my lifetime. And I know how you agonize about whether you're getting value for your money. So I've gone through these kind of calculations many, many times late at night in my lifetime. And as a layman, investor, and sometimes we really blew it bad. I have, real life experience, and I'm telling you, 4.8 that your assessor is peddling here tonight is way out of whack. It's not fair to the homeowners, and it's not fair to the other commercial properties in town, and they should be assessed in line with everybody else and with the market. And it should be a factor of 6 or greater times the rent roll. Otherwise, it's just, you're cheating the homeowners, and that 700,000 figure that you base this whole turnout on is just useless, because it should be 900,000 a year that they're, when you use a factor of 6.5.
Mr. Kramer,
and that's
he wouldn't be here if that number was 900,000. We asked him for the number, he gave it to us. If that number was set to 900,000 and all we could negotiate was 550, he would never have a pilot. It wouldn't get to tonight. We wouldn't be here tonight.
Avalon Bay probably wouldn't be building it.
Exactly. Well, you're answering my question. Right. You shouldn't be here tonight with a number of 700 a year out of.
Okay.
So you're saying don't trust him, go with your number.
Yes.
There are 7 apartment units that are assessed at a total of $22 million in this town. 1 apartment unit is being assessed at $19 million to come up with $700,000 worth of taxes. 7, $22 million. 1, $19 million. I don't know how else you can argue this one, but
right. And Mr. Kramer,
that's where it came from.
Mr. Kramer, again, these are let me just have the floor. These are clearly your opinions, and you're entitled to make your statements, and I appreciate that. But just on the very basic level of, based on your analysis, you're saying that Avalon Bay's taxes would be $500,000 more than Waterfall Village, and it's just
certainly they make them almost twice as much cash flow.
20 more units. It's 20 additional units with Mountain Laurel. I mean, it's more than double the tax rate.
Waterfall Village has low rents. Waterfall Village has what, $1,300 a month or something like that? This guy's going to get $2,000.
1,800.
That's what they're projecting.
Right.
And if they're wrong, if
They
it
have
comes
much
in at
higher
17,
rents.
let me finish.
They have much
If it
higher
comes in at 1,700, under normal taxation, that 700 we will never see. It's going to be a lot less. But under the pilot, it's giving us 550.
Waterfall Village.
Did you understand what I just said? If he assumed 1820, and a lot of people are saying, he's not going to get that in Bloomingdale. People are getting it for 1,300. If people are right, under normal taxation, we would never see the 700,000.
I grant you that. Number one, I am not against this project coming to town.
Thank you.
I'm glad that somebody wants to do something great in Bloomingdale. And I don't blame them, you know. It's going to have a high-class luxury facility in the country, you know, desirable, half a mile from the interstate highway system. You know, this is all good. But what I'm saying is, from a homeowner's point of view,
No, from your point of view.
He's right.
From your point of view.
on a home,
No, I said, you said plural, so, sorry. I just wanted to correct that.
well, you have, you know, you can take it or leave it. I'm just offering my experience.
Mr. Kramer, what is your building assessed at?
My building is, I just got a reassessment,
What is your building assessed at?
550.
Now, you appealing your taxes?
We already did. It's already closed. That's where we assessed that. And in our case, we're 5.8, to be honest, we're a little low. 5.8. No, I'm talking about the assessment ratio. If you took our income and multiply it by 5.8, you come up with that $550,000 assessment.
Yeah.
And 20 to 25%, you know, there's always a lot of vacancy, so it always ends up being 25% of the money that we collect comes into the coffers.
But as the borough attorney explained, there's so many variables into the formula to determine, and Mount Laurel's a variable, expenses is a big valuable, and Avalon Bay's expenses are going to be much greater than yours, and a waterfall village, there's no question about that. So that all affects your net rent, and therefore your taxes.
Well, yeah, more accurate, you know, the more accurate, you know, you have to go into the fine print and you have a multiple times the net rent, actually. Some buildings supply heat, some buildings don't supply heat, and these are all variables that go into evaluating a property. But I'm saying that overall, this number is way off, and I encourage my fellow homeowners to question. In other words, this building could pay, under normal taxation, at least $200,000 more a year, and it should, than you're showing here. And that shows that there's a lot more loss if you adopt this program than you're presenting. So, but, you know.
Mr. Liddell, if your taxes were $920,000, would you build in this town?
Likely not, Mr. Yazdi.
Thank you.
But, you know, and I don't want to engage Mr. Kramer. Mr. Kramer, taxes are assessed on income-producing property by a cap rate on NOI. There's no such thing as a multiple that you described. Mr. Semmerow is an expert in tax reporting, represents numerous towns. On an income-producing property, it's a cap rate on an NOI, which is what the mayor...
Net operating income.
It's not a multiple of gross revenue, which is what you're...
Excuse me, gentlemen.
So thank you for your comments, though, and I appreciate your
You still have
comments.
a quorum right now, so I'm going to...
That's fine, I'm done with you, Mayor.
No, you could kill some time by doing what you know.
If you want a lease application, since you were very nice about it, Avalon Bay is a place to live.
We just don't have a quorum. No, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Councilwoman Sherman has stepped out. We'll come back to public comment. So I'm sure we can use your restroom break. Public comment. I believe, is something you wish to make a comment? I'm sorry, oh, Mr. Simone, I did not.
That's okay, go ahead. No, that's okay, go.
No, Linda, you're up.
Linda, the 86th Area Manager. I just want to say first, I believe getting a redevelopment zone is great, but it has to be done properly. I don't think done properly. Because I don't think Avalon Bay's property should be in a redevelopment zone because, first of all, they had already started building, well, clearing the property. They've owned the property for probably 2 years now. And part of the statute states that the property cannot be built with private money. It's being done. I mean, I don't think any of the areas really fit into the redevelopment zone. Main Street, I think, is perfect for it, because that is area that's more a blighted area where Avalon Bay's property is not a blighted area. Next comment is that, is the financial application completed yet? That's supposed to be done for the ordinance?
The financial agreement?
Financial application is part of the ordinance?
Financial application.
Yeah, here it says, that's what I was asking
Yeah,
about.
I have financial agreement here, that would be the application that I have here. Yes.
Is that to be available to the public?
Yes.
This makes it sound like there's two different things now.
Also, if Avalon Bay was an appropriate area for redevelopment zone, you can charge up to 15% of their gross revenues. And I don't know why we didn't go to 15% of that.
We're actually charging, really, it comes to about 17%.
That's the minimum, but...
No, the maximum is 15%.
Right.
You go to a pilot, the maximum you could charge is 15.
Right.
However, the way this has been structured, it comes to 17%, the actual amount. And I would say to you, if you take the 610,000, it was 610, is that correct, Rick?
That's what the 700.
608. That,
So 550 plus 60?
Yes.
That's a conservative number.
Right.
Yeah, 610.
610, and you divide it by the actual projected revenues, which we have, what was $4 million?
Yes.
Divided by $4 million, that comes to over 15%, just for starters in this. And because of the way it's been structured, we've been able to go across the 15% number. And I would say I know of at least 3 other municipalities that, and I'm not saying I'm for or against them, I'm just telling you from a legal standpoint, and factually, 3 other municipalities that are at 10%. And
Well, they have actually redevelopment zone. It was done before the property started.
no, not necessarily, because, there is an incentive to try to bring the developer in, and even in this situation, and we see this, one of the things that I discussed with the governing body was that just because they have approvals doesn't mean they're going to build. We see this where they're going to build timely. There is an incentive here for redevelopment, and I feel that also I went back and I went through all the documents, and I just don't want anything to be misinterpreted, because now we're talking about the legal aspect. The area was designated as an area in need of redevelopment, but it was designated by a report of a professional licensed planner who wrote a report and came up with various reasons that met the criteria for the property. That report was actually endorsed by the planning board, so that's two levels, and then it was ultimately endorsed by the governing body. So, some of the case law that's out there that talks about areas in need of redevelopment, I do a lot of land use work. I've never represented a developer my entire career. But I can say that there's a presumption of correctness to the decisions made, and the case law that's out there that overturns these type of designations are where you have, for example, one of the more known cases in the last 4 or 5 years in the New Jersey Supreme Court. There was a case where the designation was overturned by the court because they only found one of the criteria was met. The report prepared by the planner was a net opinion. It didn't have a foundation. Mr. Burgess's firm, I think everyone would agree, is very well known and respected, and they prepared a complete report, and it did receive the review and the endorsement from the planning board and the governing body. It's much different than any instances of cases out there where these types of decisions are overturned. And I think, just to say, from a legal perspective, if just because there's approvals and this designation comes forward, there's no guarantee that this developer goes forward. You think he's going to, they are going to, but they can do it at their own pace. They could. This is an incentive to the town, and the spirit of the program is to come up with a way to enhance and go forward with development. And I don't see anything from a legal perspective that's wrong. The decisions made not to go forward is a policy decision. From a legal perspective, all the proper steps were taken, and I feel very comfortable from that aspect.
Okay. I know, Ray, that you had said that all of the funds that are coming to the municipality are due to the reduction in the amount of county. However, for a 30-year program, Avalon Bay is benefiting by $6,085,000. The municipality benefits by $10,006,000. The school loses $13 million, and the county loses $3.7 million. Your calculation only uses 600 and something, whereas the information that the auditor provided you uses $700,000 as revenue. And that's the difference.
I don't understand.
The revenue, the auditor didn't net out the land adjustment.
But you should, the land adjustment should have been in here when you look at the
Right,
700,000.
auditor actually did it wrong.
I don't think so.
Because the taxes that we would give to the county, he has it as 27.5. They get 5% of the agreed amount.
No, I'm talking about the municipal tax part, but not the,
I understand, but his number has a higher number going to the
No.
county, and it's wrong.
I used your numbers for the pilot program.
Right, so my numbers are,
Taxes.
let's go to my numbers, right?
Mhm.
My numbers are, Avalon's benefit, at the end of 30 years, $3.6
I'm not
million.
looking at my benefit. What I'm looking at is if you take, if you had put in there for your revenue, the minimum amount of payments, municipality and the county.
Municipal benefit, $13.5 million in 30 years. School, $13.02. We get about $540,000.
You didn't put the tax part of the land in any of it. And the town's going to get a portion of the land tax.
Of course, right.
But you didn't, that's not in your calculation.
Well, it doesn't matter, you're doing a comparison. This is above and beyond, right? It doesn't matter. If I put it on both sides, it's going to net out to be zero.
But you didn't put it on both sides. You didn't put any of it in the municipal taxes.
Would you like me to take the time and go through it and prove it to you right now? It's not going to make a difference.
It does make a difference.
It doesn't.
That's your opinion. I disagree.
What do you mean, it's my opinion? There is
It's your opinion.
no
Numbers don't lie either.
difference.
I put a calculation too.
Well, and I'm telling you right now, I went through that same exact number. Same exact. Because if I count it on normal taxation, right, but then also count it under this portion, same number. So let me just, let's go over it so this way, maybe I'll say it in a different way and you may appreciate it, right? So municipal portion, 162, right? And there was a sheet that I was showing you at the end here. Land tax would give us an extra 24, right? So let's go back. 162 plus 24.
I'm not going to go through your calculation. I sort of used your calculation. I looked at it. I also know I did another calculation to look at just what exact municipal taxes would be compared to what the pilot program would be, including the land tax, at each one of the public portions, and then to compare the comparison to it. And I should look at the numbers.
Okay.
Another question, if you sell all the cash flows, and then the school comes to tell you they need money, what are you going to do?
If I reduce your taxes 12%, because I sold the cash flow, school comes to us and says we need money, they do that every year.
No, they do not.
They do that every year. Every time they come to you and they say, my taxes need to be 18.5 million, go collect it and pay me. That's what we do.
Did they do that last year? Did they turn around last year and come and ask you for extra money? No, they did not. I'm
Our
asking,
budget,
telling you.
our school budget went from 17.2 million to 18.5 million. They spend $1 million in cash in capital improvements.
So, which means they're better budgeting than you are because we've got all this debt. I'm not saying you.
They have zero debt.
Raised me for 8 months, it's $12 million.
No, you got Mr. Debt when you were in the council.
I'm not getting you. Linda. If I reduce taxes 12%,
You're not going to be able to reduce the tax immediately by 12%.
reduce costs by 12%, and I pass it along, what does that mean? Percentages don't lie.
First of all,
Laws of man.
I personally don't think you're going to be reducing the taxes. It's going to be something else going to come up, and that's personal opinion.
Okay, my point being that if your taxes go down in this bucket, and then somebody needs more money, they're gonna raise our taxes anyway.
I know.
So then,
So
let them.
So who's paying more anyway?
It's not gonna, let me say it in a different way. If I got $12 million selling that cash flow, right? That's $1.2 million per year we're paying today for our debt service. I won't have that anymore. I can give $330,000, exact amount that you're saying we're taking away from the school, give it all to them, still have $700,000 sitting in our coffers. More than that, $900,000 sitting in our coffers.
How did you reduce our taxes and also that money?
I won't reduce it 12%, I'll reduce it 9%. And they get every single dime. But I wouldn't give them the $300,000 unless they can prove it that this project is increasing their
And then
costs.
as Peter Brown said previously, that is inappropriate for the school to have to come here and prove to you they need the money.
And what did you do to them 2 years
You do
ago?
not do it every year.
Well, the school budget is voted
But it's
down.
voted down, it's not voted
Yeah,
down.
but
We don't
nothing
have
can
to come
change
here.
when they have the elections, they're never gonna vote it down.
Right.
What, you gonna tell me, no, that's not true? They're never gonna vote another school budget down because they've changed the election.
Unless they see 2%, then they have to.
So,
But we always, another question, comment is that, first of all, you said that our taxes only go up 2%. When did our taxes ever only go up 2%?
This project will ensure
When do they
it's gonna
ever-
go down.
But they've never only gone up 2%.
Correct, this year our taxes went down. Average tax in this town
We
has
had a
gone down to
$400,000
80.
increase, how did our taxes go down, right now? We had a $400,000 increase from last year to this year, how did our taxes?
Average homeowner's tax went down $83. Fact.
Right. I don't know whether you got it, that was brain. If our taxes went up, we paid up $400,000. How did we
No,
reduce our
I'm not gonna
taxes?
argue with you. It's
But you
something-
can't argue
you
with
sat
that,
on
that's
this-
why.
You sat up there for 6 years. After 6 years, 6 months, $83 reduction. That's all I gotta tell you.
You lied.
Excuse me, somebody, I just have one question. How did you get the auditor's memo? You said the auditor's numbers.
That's in here, yeah, that's
Is it in the packet?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'm just curious. Thank you. Anyone, Mr. Ed?
Of course.
You said just for that.
Edwin Simone, 352 Glenwald Avenue, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. I'd like to thank all the members of the council and the professionals who see here tonight, and to my fellow residents who showed your commitment to the borough, and the absences speak volumes. With that being said, we've had our differences on the development of my feelings for the development. That being aside, we did discuss a pilot program. There's been a lot of discussion tonight, and I'll try to be brief. Of course, no one likes a 30-year contract with reduced taxes, but I also am smart enough to know when you sit down in any kind of negotiation, you can't always get everything your way. I want to commend the council and the people who worked on this for being able to negotiate away the Kelly finances, because I personally believe your $60,000 budget number is way too light. Everybody knows what's going to happen in the first snowstorm, and everybody should realize that garbage is big business, and the cost of garbage collection is going to escalate over the next 20 to 30 years, because there's no place to put it. You don't need an IQ for that. As everybody is concerned about, so as I am, the schools, a strong school system will drive up our property values. On that, even though property values are in the hole right now, strong school systems drive the property value. I do not believe that the Avalon Bay project is going to have an impact on the school system. Anybody who's looked at the drawings, who's had any kind of children, knows that you don't want to climb up 2 and 3 flights of stairs carrying groceries, skateboards, and carrying bicycles. There's no storage for children, for the amount of things that children have. I don't mean to sound this negatively, but this project really isn't child-friendly. So I do not believe that we're going to have an impact on this school system, on this project. Avalon Bay has shown through its history as being one of the premier developers of rental units in the country, and I think we should welcome them in as a neighbor and a new resident of Bloomingdale. Mr. Duran made a statement earlier, and I respect his opinion tremendously. He taught me a lot about it's not the normal tax structure. We should go back and we should keep it at the normal tax structure. Well, the reason why we're here tonight is because the normal tax structure isn't working. We're getting taxed out of our homes. This is the first time since I've been living here in 1984 that we've had a town council come up with a plan. Whether it's a good plan, bad plan, they've done a tremendous amount of work, and we have a plan. And the key to this plan, how's it going to help me with my personal taxes, is exactly what they're saying, is to drive down debt. And the other thing that Mr. Duran had questioned was, well, he doesn't trust the council. Well, the face of council changes every year, and the intent of the council changes every year, and there's no guarantee that 3 years from now we're going to have a council here that isn't going to want to say, let's take the $300,000 and go to Atlantic City. So the trick to this is going to be to create an ordinance that controls not only this pilot program, but future pilot programs to ensure that the schools, the library, and other aspects of the town don't get cheated. And that's going to be a difficult one for Mr. Semero. But after being an attorney, Mr. Semero, I'm sure you know that bad ordinances, even illegal ordinances, have to be brought before the public to be changed. And that's the key here. This council has to sit down and come up with an ordinance that not only directs former councils to pay down debt, because that will lower our taxes, but it needs to come up for the future pilot programs for Main Street or wherever else we do this, that we can try to control what will happen to the schools. No ordinance is perfect, Mr. Semero, you know that, but if it's going to be changed, then you've got to come up here and you've got to take the heat from the town to change it. And I think with that being said, again, I commend you on a plan. I wasn't an easy proponent of this plan. I sat down and looked at the numbers. I was fortunate that Mr. Yazdi had sat down and showed and went over with me some of the numbers personally. They work. I understand the math. And I hope it passes and good luck. Thank you.
Before you go, Ed, could I say something to you? And this is the second time that someone has mentioned the people on the council who are absent. And I just want to point out, first of all, this is a special meeting, and people had vacation plans, and one person had a family emergency, and the other person had to recuse himself anyway. So I just want people to know that, and I don't think Peter was actually meaning people were dishonest.
No, I understood Peter's statement. I understand.
But it wasn't, nobody was going to thinking about taking money and going to Atlantic City.
No, that was just
But I have been here such a long time, and I have actually seen great things created many years ago, and the council long ago left, and a new council came and changed things, found some way that if they had a need of revenue. So we all know that that happens. But this ordinance that we're talking about, you know, on where this money could go, it has to be very well thought out. And if you know that from planning board ordinances, it isn't simple. When you sit down to make a motion, you better include every point you want, because that resolution becomes the law and could become an ordinance. So those are all things for us to think about. And I myself, my biggest disappointment tonight is I had reached out to Board of Ed people and to the administrator there, and I still have a lot of unanswered questions from them, and I'm really disappointed that some of them couldn't have come tonight. That's the disappointment I have in attendance. That's all.
And Mr. Simone, you made a great point, right? Because I'm making it very conservative. I'm putting a $60,000 number. If I just increase that to $80,000, that's just 20 grand more. The savings for Avalon Bay, I know we shouldn't care, but a lot of people do care, right? Goes down to 10%. Our benefit goes from 13 to 14 million, including the interest if we're paying our debt, goes to 16.6 million. This thing grows pretty rapidly, pretty quickly, and that's assuming that we pass zero of it to tax reduction, right? That's assuming taxes continue to go up at 2% rate. If we start to pass some of it in form of tax reduction or tax stabilization by not increasing 2%, this thing's going to blow itself out of waters. Somebody said it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and I know it's a matter of trust, and someone's coming up and going, I don't trust your spreadsheet, because you didn't put 24,000 on this side and that side. And that's how. I've looked at this thing from every angle. The only reason I'm here, if the taxes were 920,000, we would have negotiated 15 or 12.9% off of that. We wouldn't have started at, this number. The only reason the pilot is attractive is because of the benefit to us. And I appreciate all your comments. This is a no-brainer. This is a jumping board into great things for this town. I don't know how else to say it.
Thank you. Ms. Basham? Lori, I'll come right back to you. You're good. You've been waiting a while.
Mike Fitzpatrick, 125 Reed Ave. I only have a couple of quick ones. First of all, I'm not here in defense of Mr. Liddell or the project. I am the contractor doing the work there, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm here for opposition or not. I'm a resident, and I just have a couple questions. Who was the author of the program? Who put it together? Who put this together? The pilot.
There was negotiation.
Myself.
Who drafted this program?
Councilman Yasny and myself.
Okay. I don't know Mr. Yasny very well. I have a question. What's your background?
Finance. I worked for Hewlett Packard, and I support the vice president in large ticket decision making. $250 million worth of computers was just leased by, I'll give you a well-known name, Facebook. And I'm the human calculator behind the decisions that vice presidents made. Say, I'm going to adjust it this way or that way. This is what I do for a living.
Bravo.
I've been doing it for the past 20-some-odd years.
I'm not smart enough to get there. I'm trying to understand. So in 20 years of finance, this is what you came up with. This is what you believe to be the best program we have. Of course, it makes perfect sense to me all the way through. I just want to understand the background and how was it taken. Okay, so on a conservative level, I understand you can play with numbers and ending up or down to get to anywhere you want to go. Your opinion on conservative method?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because in taking that, I've just been listening all night. I don't want the room to take the wrong idea here, but you're mad at the wrong people. This Liddell's a businessman, and this company's a business. They came to this town because it was an opportunity for them. They got it, they went through the proper process, planning board approved them, and off they went, and here they are. We now have them. So if we have them, why don't we make the best possible use of what we can make that work? I can tell you this is my first time with them, they've been working for them. They're a class act organization. They pay their bills. They want to be in these communities. They want to do the right thing. I'm not a proponent, I'm a resident. Okay? If it wasn't them, it would be somebody else. If I wasn't doing a job, somebody else would. The one thing that we're missing here is that this opportunity, we're a support town. 15 years ago, I sat up there. We're a support town. We've only gained our expenses through tax revenue. It's the only way we can do it. Butler, Riverdale, Kinnelon, every supporting town around here has a major thoroughfare that goes through, being Route 23 and commercial development property. We do not. Residents pay the bill here. When the school system adds kids, we pay for it. When kids drop down, that number should come down. But you don't have commercial property or big residential properties to pick up the bill. This opportunity may pose future developers that have some interest in coming here. If they do, it's what I do for a living. We don't have prime real estate. We have brutally difficult real estate to develop. The only way developers are coming here and looking to do advancements like this is with something like this. It's the only way you're going to get there. It's the only way he can make the project work. There's just not enough good, flat, level land property-wise here, or enough of it, to say, let's go. And I know people don't like to hear the idea of, we're going to develop our little sacred grounds. The truth is, without it, we can't support this town, and taxes are going to continue up. It's that simple. The other part is that I just, listening to the school system argument and what goes with it. If somebody buys my house next week, 4 kids are coming in the system. It's that simple. 4-bedroom house. 4 kids are coming here, you can't stop it. Okay? The tax revenue there is going to support 1. 3 have to get spread somewhere. It could happen with him, it could happen with Mrs. DeLazer, who's been in her house for forever. And I don't mean forever, I just mean forever. but the reality is that anybody's home could be sold. Forget the market. Forget about what's going on tax revenue-based. We're no different than any other small town. We're all in trouble.
Mike, just bring it back to the chair.
I'm sorry?
Just bring it back to the chair.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But we're in a situation where this economy and future economies are all going to change the direction of this town. I went to Butler High School. There was 1,200 kids there in the 1970s and 80s. There's 500 kids there. We could very easily have 350 next year. The dynamics could change here dramatically, and it'll affect what happens to the tax base and the school need and what goes on. A program like this is going to certainly justify its existence, and bear one thing in mind. From what I understand, I'm not that smart. I understand one thing. What's the tax revenue on that piece of property right today?
$91,000.
Okay, so we have $91,000 on that piece of property going in the rolls. What you're talking about is, and it won't happen exactly, I do understand the idea of being able to control the money and what you're going to do over the next 30 years. But you're talking about one property eliminating debt in this town. If this program goes through or something similar, you're talking about one single property with next to 0 expenses against it from the borough side, being able to reduce the debt in this town to basically 0 over a 30-year period. Now, it's too far out for 30 years, and a lot of things will happen, and it won't get that far. But that's one property. If this comes through, and we're able to push it forward, Mr. Liddell and developers like him may look at other properties, at which point, if you were taking one property and reduce the debt to near 0, and I'm not going to say you're going to get there, but there are then opportunities for other developments to come through, put pilot programs in, and that is just additional revenue above cost. So, in my very minor opinion, you're looking at an opportunity here, not just for Mr. Avalon Bay, and don't be mad at him. He's a businessman. He did what he just had an opportunity and he got it. I assume we made the best possible deal for the Borough of Bloomingdale. I assume Mr. Liddell is happy with his deal, or wouldn't be. So I don't know that you get much better than this. Thank you.
I'm not mad
Oh, good. Sorry.
Just a comment. Under normal taxation, it would take 4 Avalon Bay projects to bring what this one under a pilot will bring to the borough.
I think also, when I look at, in another life, I was a CPA, and I have to say that...
That explains everything.
I have to say that the numbers that you put together, Ray, are, they are the best available information that you had to do this, and the model, ties into the numbers that you set as a goal before you were convinced that you wanted to do this. I have to say that just being a witness in the negotiations, because we had some very stressful, to say the least, discussions with the developer, where I didn't think this was going to work until you made it very clear that you were not going to endorse this until you got to the point where you are now, and that you said all along. But the $342,000 difference is 8 tax points. If I'm correct, because it's $42,000, 8 tax points a year going the other way, as opposed to going up. And I think that would be accurate, wouldn't it? If you're at 42,000, I think it's about 8.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Yes.
Lori Weinbrock. Lori Weinbrock, 45 Highland Road. I have a few questions, and bear with me because I've been making notes all evening, so they're all over the place on my papers. Who originated the idea of the pilot? The town or Avalon Bay?
The borough auditor presented the idea as an option to bring in additional revenue. The governing body took that recommendation, and the governing body approached the developer.
Okay, and who did all the financial analysis, all of the figures here? Okay, just that tonight a number of people questioned, the figures and the taxes, etc. And I was wondering, could we have an independent commercial appraiser assess the value of the property? And there was a question about taxation and figures, etc., etc. Was that ever considered?
I would say that from a standpoint of what Mr. Townsend gave us these values independently. We asked him where he thought this would be. And when you appraise these type of properties, it's really a textbook type of assignment, because you really have, as indicated earlier, income, expenses, capitalization rate, and your number. I mean, so what Brian Townsend did, no one would know better about the municipality values than the person who reviews every single transaction in the municipality. So that's where we got the number. No one here said it's going to be X, Y, or Z, and certainly the developer didn't give us that number. That was done, my assignment from, I believe it was from Mr. Yasky, was to go to Brian Townsend, and I discussed it with him 3 different occasions to make sure he was comfortable with his overall analysis, telling him that that's going to be the number that we're going to rely upon. So, and it was independently put together by him.
Okay, and I'm not questioning.
Just so you know where it came from.
I'm not questioning his ability. I don't know him. I'm not questioning it. It's just that because so many people had raised the question, I wondered if people wouldn't be happier, and if it wouldn't, be better to have an independent commercial appraiser, so that people would not, question that aspect of it. Is that possible or not a good idea?
Yeah, long, expensive. I mean, I only heard one person question the dollar amount being used as taxes. Number one. Number two, we did use a paid professional, our borough tax assessor. So why would we duplicate a service and pay for something else? My recommendation.
Okay, another question that I had. You say that the pilot is an incentive to lure other businesses into the town. Assuming that did happen, then do we give every business that we lure a pilot tax break? If our purpose is to lure other businesses with this pilot incentive, then every business that we lure into the area, do we have to give them?
The pilots are specific to each potential development. So
then what happens? Do we then, if we lure them with this incentive, then do we have to give them?
No, but there's also other incentives that I was asked about by the governing body to discuss in the future. One being, there's a 5-year abatement exemption for existing businesses, not for their taxes, but for improvements. If you were to put an addition on your commercial property, there's an abatement type ordinance that the governing body could consider adopting to give that incentive for existing businesses to put improvements on their property and not pay taxes on that improvement for a 5-year period, so they could maybe reap the benefits, and that's an incentive. So there's other type of incentives. Again, they're work, so they're a win-win. They're for the benefit of the business and also for the benefit of the borough, because when it's all said and done, you have improved business and you have an improved rating.
I understand, and that sounds wonderful, but I'm addressing this particular incentive, that one of the reasons for this pilot program, since they are not, redeveloping something and they are not making an improvement to blighted property, if the purpose is then to use this pilot as an incentive, I'm just asking for, as an incentive, then do we need to do this for every business that we lure with an incentive? And is that going to be a good idea as far as tax revenue is concerned?
What is enticing, I'll use enticing instead of lure.
Okay.
What is enticing businesses to come is the redevelopment area, not the pilot. It's the fact that we have a redevelopment area. And it's that area that then allows a borough, a governing body, to enter into other items that may entice something to come to fruition, such as a pilot, such as zoning overlays, such as things our attorney just alluded to, tax abatement. So, but to answer your question, no, we do not have to give everyone who shows interest a pilot. But if it's the pilot that would make smart growth and revenue for the borough, I'm sure that's something the borough would then consider. But the answer to your question is no, we don't have to give it to everybody.
Is it good for tax revenue for us to do, would that be good for tax revenues for us to do that for every business that came into that area? I mean, I don't know. I'm seriously asking the question. Is that a good idea to give everybody a tax break?
We've been dying for businesses to come into our town. The reason why our taxes are so high is the residents are paying all the taxes, right?
I understand that. I'm asking.
If we want businesses in this town and all we give away is the county fees, it's a pretty good idea.
I think your answer is yes.
Absolutely, yes.
So that, and is there any limit as to how many times we could do this for businesses that come?
Think about, it would be limited to the area you declare as subject
Right.
zone. So look at Union Ave. We would declare from the end to the horse farm on Union Ave. You're already limited on your potential, available areas. So that would be your only limitation. If you did Main Street from, say, the Riverdale Bridge to Kings Corner, your limitation would be in that stretch.
Right, but then if the enticement is the fact that it's an area that can be developed, why do we also need the pilot to entice them?
But, no. It's the redevelopment area that allows you to do a pilot. So it's the redevelopment area that is the tool to entice them to come for various reasons I just mentioned. And if pilot is the reason the developer will come here, then that's what the borough will do.
So I'm just a little confused with the answers. So in other words, we could give a pilot tax abatement to every business that wants to build on Union Avenue.
If it makes financial sense for the borough,
Well,
yes.
that's my question, because I'm not a financial expert. Would it be good?
Absolutely, if we can cut the same deal, it would make absolute sense for us. Now, do we have to give it to them? No. We can make case by case.
Would we be able to cut the same deal? I think you said that the reason that we had such a good deal is that we didn't have to bargain with them. So could we cut as good a deal?
That's a negotiation. Our goal would be yes. If you had a commercial exposure that you knew would bring no kids to the schools and all the concerns that were raised tonight, you may be able to negotiate something different than this and have the proper rewards for the borough at the same time. It depends on each case and what the use is.
Okay, again, I guess I'm just feeling that we're talking about enticing them, but maybe not, and it's just all very vague to me. So it doesn't sound like anything is a guarantee.
No. But if you don't do a redevelopment area, I can guarantee you nothing's going to happen. That I'll guarantee you.
Okay, another question. You said, mentioned year one of completion, but I think it said year one of completion and being fully occupied.
No. It's, for a pilot, it's year one of substantially completed and a certificate of occupancy issued by our building department. That's for a pilot. For straight taxes, the assessed value would not reach the 700,000 mark until it was completely occupied, because that's based on revenue.
So what would we gain when it's, and what would be, like, what is the definition of a year, what's the definition?
Let's say year one of full completion, we would, on a pilot, we would net gain what Councilman Yazdi showed here. Year one of completion under a normal tax with, let's say, 25% rented, We hope the borough would gain less than like $10,000 that first year.
Be a lot less.
It would be 75% less than our $100,000 net number.
Maybe it's going to be contested.
And they'd be able to appeal their
They'll
taxes.
appeal.
They'd be able to appeal their taxes because there's no revenue, therefore they would argue their assessment's higher because they're only half rented. That can't happen with a pilot. That is a real value-added component to this pilot, that there will never be a tax appeal.
Okay, now I just want you to quote this report by Matthew Boxer, the state controller. I'm going to just quote a few things. In one of them, he says, local tax listings should clearly identify redevelopment and rehabilitation abatements to promote, that's not the one. Periodic municipal review and follow-up concerning developer performance should be required after an abatement is awarded. Have we made any arrangements for follow-up and reevaluation for a period of 30 years? Or
We received, we're going to have basically audited financials as to the receipts from the developer. That's for one thing. So we're going to be able to monitor how they do. As a matter of fact, if their profit is over 12%, then there's additional revenue that the borough would be entitled to. Because it's not here for them to make just an unlimited profit, basically, and us as a borough not being a part of it. It's to some extent a partnership. And I have that report in front of me. But that report also cites basically misuse of the pilot. There's an example of a town giving Wawas pilots, and there's 3 Wawas within a square mile and things of that nature. And I believe it also cites when the pilot is 10%, and again here we're even over 15%. And again, I'm just stating it from a legal perspective. What I've been a part of in the discussions and the negotiations is nowhere near what's in this report, because here the municipality demanded that it would not lose revenue, total revenue or taxpayer dollars that would normally get paid to the borough. The goal was to make sure that the borough was made whole and that it was structured in such a way that it wouldn't be a loss of tax dollars. So,
I guess I'm concerned. I'm concerned because 30 years is a long time, and there are no guarantees.
Standard. Well, one thing about the 30 years, which is a guarantee, is the 2%. That's to make sure that every year there would be an increase, and then you have other check-offs. You have as I just mentioned about the profit. There's also provisions that if at some point there's basically the amount of taxes will be compared to the revenues and payments in the pilot, there could be a changeover later on in the agreement as well. There are certain check-offs, so to speak.
The other thing too, in the council's presentation is it's using that conservative number on the Kelly services, garbage pickup, et cetera, at 60,000. That number in itself could double in 10 years, which would just start.
Let's just put 80 in. You can see it's millions.
The other number that's not in your analysis, Ray, is municipalities that have ratables of this size. Generally, my experience is, and I only prosecute tax appeals, they keep a reserve of about 10 to 15% of the amount of taxes paid for the defense of appeals or a possible return of taxes. And any return of taxes, the Board of Education never pays. But that reserve's not there. If you took 10%, you added it. If they were on the regular tax, well, you would keep that type of reserve, as we witnessed even with the rebound.
We have to be budgeting 70 grand in our budget for a case of an appeal, which now we don't have.
Okay. I guess it seems that the standard method of taxation is a sure thing, and the pilot could work, or it could be a disaster. You talk about other councils doing things that were wrong, and that's why we are where we are, and I just kind of picture us in 5 or 10 years saying, oh, what did we do? It's just...
And what do you base that statement on?
The fact that so much of it seems vague and that there are no guarantees.
Okay. It could
Well,
be any.
perhaps vague is not the correct word,
Not the
but
correct word.
they
There's
even
nothing
said,
vague
you know,
about
this
this.
may happen, but it may not, and I hope this
So
works
there's one
out.
guarantee in this, and that's the 550.
550 at 2%.
It's guaranteed.
For 30 years.
Question on that.
And I guess the other thing that I base it on is this, report that I was reading, and there were just, a number of comments that concerned me. The report, again, this is Matthew Boxer, State Controller. Our review of tax abatement practices in New Jersey found numerous weaknesses in the regulation, implementation, and oversight of these programs. The asserted benefits of granting tax abatements are far from guaranteed. Developers may overpromise benefits that do not materialize. In that regard, a number of studies have cast doubt on whether tax abatements generally attain their desired goals, including whether they actually affect business expansion and development. So I'm basing it on also on the report, which expresses concerns about.
You're basing it on 3 sentences from 4 articles. I mean, I'd love to read the whole article.
I'm curious. I've listened all evening to people come up here and scour Avalon Bay in the practice that they're successful. They're a multi-million-dollar nationwide company. They succeed. We bring one of the top companies that does this for a living every day as a professional. We're not playing with amateurs here. These people make money, and they're successful at it because they know what they're doing.
I'm not criticizing Avalon Bay today. I'm discussing the pilot program.
I'm just asking, let me finish. Maybe I'll get to my point, and then we'll go from there. The point I'm trying to make is that we had done and performed the analysis to make this work. This town has not moved forward for the last 35, 40 years. You have an opportunity to bring somebody in that's going to change this community because you're going to add a whole different select group of people to kind of round this out. Now, these people are professionals, they're young couples, you're going to get a different blend. My point is, the poor woman from Lawrence that's been here 50 years, she's not making her rentals, businesses aren't succeeding, but these smaller communities that start to change them, these people are going to ask for hot yoga classes or different things that would never be exposed to the current population. So it's a synergy. When you go down south and you look at communities that survive, they're usually around a prison because the barbershops, the delis, because all these people, the money stays there. So you have an opportunity here. The success of them is the success of the entire community. But yet we spend all this time debating whether they're going to make more money than we are.
I'm not worried about whether they're going to make more
I'm
money.
not making this total comment to you, ma'am. I'm just saying that my concerns don't exist as far as this not being successful, because if Avalon Bay failed, one, it would be the first time, and second, they'd lose, not just us. They're not going to lose. They're in it for all the right reasons because they make money. So the success of business is everybody has to make money or move forward for that process. It's clear that this has been laid out.
Who are these young people that are going to change our town?
Well, the people that are going to pay $1,800 a month rent aren't going to be vagrants.
Not the ones visiting the prison.
No, but you see communities that are developed because something anchors them to come to that community. Walt Disney created Swampland in Florida because there was an attraction that drew those people to it. The point is, Bloomingdale has never had, up till now, a draw that brings people to this community, because otherwise they drove by. Because one, the main roads didn't come through it, and people just...
So the draw is going to be the apartments, or the...
No, but it's a start.
It's the catalyst. They've said it. This is the catalyst. This is the start, the beginning of a plan which Bloomingdale has not had in its history.
I hate to ask this question, but all the people that are speaking against this is a way to get rid of our debt and bring tax relief to our residents.
Perhaps.
Does
If I
anyone
truly
have a
believe that, I
plan
wouldn't be
other than
asking.
this to get rid of our debt? Anyone? A 1-year plan, 2-year plan, 3-year plan? There's a 30-year plan that's going to get rid of our debt.
give me a guarantee that it will work and I will be with you. I'm not against lowering taxes.
Man,
I'm
I
concerned
lost
that
sleep
it might
because
not work.
I know I'm putting my name to this thing, and it's gonna be with me for the next 30 years. What more guarantee do you want, more than that? I'm presenting to you something that, based on my professional experience, it's a no-brainer. This is gonna be a jump start. Can I name the business that's contacting?
Mrs. Weinberg, is going normal,
Businesses that are contacting
is going normal taxation a guarantee to lower your taxes on this project?
No, but at least, but it's, again, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. It could work, and it could really do.
It's a 30-year contracted pilot for 550,000 units, 2%. It's a guarantee.
Okay. And I want to say, I am not discussing or criticizing Avalon Bay. Although I would be much happier if they had stone facing instead of
This is a
vinyl.
better guarantee.
One thing about the
Thank you very much.
without saying it's a guarantee, if Avalon Bay gets built and they only occupy 50% of the units, guaranteed, their taxes will dramatically decrease. But we still are entitled to the 550. That's the guarantee part.
It's actually a better guarantee than regular taxes.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come up, say your name. Yes, sir, you're waiting. Wait, I gotta make sure everyone has gone first. That's only the right thing to do, sir. Betty? How are you?
Very well. Betty Gray, 33 Bridge Road, Bloomingdale. I think what's so perplexing with this whole pilot plan is that, to my knowledge, this might be the first time that it's not done to a inner city such as Asbury Park, Jersey City, or Trenton. I only know of two other smaller towns. One is Roselle Park, and the other is Bloomfield. But in both these occasions, Avalon Bay has approached the town council to, they want the pilot.
That's not true, and I'll speak to it.
Not true?
No,
For Roselle Park?
you said for both of them. It's
Well, I'll
not.
say Roselle Park. I'll
You
just
said
say
Roselle Park and Bloomfield, ma'am. And just to give you a further response, there are 150 redevelopment areas throughout the state of New Jersey, out of 566 towns. Of the 150 towns that have redevelopment areas, over 100 have pilots, including that urban center, Livingston, New Jersey, where I live. And Main and Main Street put a pilot to redevelop that area as a catalyst, you've heard that word before,
Yes,
to
John
develop.
just said that.
Yeah, he said it a few times, so I'm going to say it too, to redevelop it. Pilots were local redevelopment law, and by the way, they don't use the term blight anymore. The term blight was changed 20 years ago. Pilots are used throughout the state of New Jersey to do overlay zoning and act as an incentive to have businesses come in and develop in those towns. They are not used Asbury Park, and I think you said something else. You are
There were
correct.
23 municipalities, and they started with Asbury Park and Atlantic City.
23,
Bayonne,
ma'am, what's
Bridgeton.
23?
23 municipalities that comprised, let me see here, the abatement issue of pilot programs.
Ma'am, there's 150 redevelopment,
Well,
there's not
this is-
23.
This was part of the,
I think you're reading from the comptroller's report.
Yeah, I know Matthew
Yeah.
Boxer, he's a friend of mine. He disavowed that report after it was written. I'm glad that someone gave you the report to come.
why would he
Ma'am,
write
let
a
me
report and
finish,
give
okay?
it to the governor and then disavow it?
You gonna let me finish?
Well,
You
apparently,
said-
I thought I had the floor, but go right ahead.
You contacted, you referenced me specifically when you brought up two municipalities and you were incorrect.
Good enough. Your
Bloomfield
turn.
did not, let me finish, we start to say, I did not go to Bloomfield with regard to a pilot whatsoever. And in fact, by the way, just because we're having a discussion about it, because now I'm ready for this one, Bloomfield's pilot is the best pilot for a developer in the state of New Jersey.
And they accepted.
They gave it to me. I didn't even
Who
ask
gave
for
it
it.
to you?
Now, let me tell you why
Roselle
it's,
Park? No, they gave it to you also, or you
Ma'am,
gave it to them?
I can't give anything, ma'am. I'm a developer. The towns give pilots, not me.
Not through a little coercion on your part?
Ma'am, if you want to attack me, go ahead. Go ahead. You want to attack me, go ahead. Coercion? No, ma'am.
Let's work
No.
on this way.
That's not how it works. And you know what?
Well, I'll tell you, I will yield to you,
Right.
Mr.
Let's do-
Talk.
No, I want you to say the truth.
I am saying what I have been
right, excuse
reading
me.
on this.
Let me do this, Mayor. Let me do, Mr. Liddell, if you, just, hold on a second. We'll let Mrs. Frey ask her questions, okay? And if we're unable to answer them, or they're directly specific to Avalon Bay, and they're not factual, then I will go to Mr. Liddell for information instead of the two of you engaging.
Okay, apparently, Mr. Attorney, you are familiar with this report?
Yeah, I have a
Did you know
copy.
that it had been disavowed, as Mr. Lydell just said?
Liddell.
Liddell.
That I do not. I do not have that information. That I
You don't know?
No, I
All
can't.
right, so then
confirm
you
that.
or I are both on the same page. and
With
we
respect to that,
reference
correct, I have the report. I indicated why I think this report doesn't apply to the situation here, but I didn't know it was, I don't know anything about it.
Because I'm concerned also, we're only going to be giving X amount percent to the county. But the county, its revenue is going to remain unchanged. So I'm going to quote here. So when the county apportions its revenue needs among municipalities, neighboring municipalities will shoulder a larger share of the tax burden, and the evading municipality will shoulder less. Okay. Don't you think that if all the towns get on board, as far as I know, we're the only one now, locally, well, what happens if more towns decide to, to institute a pilot program? Then less and less monies are going to be going to the state county. I think they're not going to like that.
I'm sure they will like that, but the county's also capped at 2% as well. We already pay the county $5 million annually from the borough of Bloomingdale. So I don't think there's going to be an issue with the, what did you rate, 100,000 less they're getting from the borough? 118?
92,000.
92,000. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I would forego giving the county 92,000 to have the borough gain 400,000. That's what it comes down to.
okay. Now, I just asked, would you do me a big favor?
Sure.
Would you find out if this report is accurate or is incorrect? Because I would really like to know.
Sure. And if I may, and this will be me engaging with Mr. Liddell, not yourself, and vice versa. Mr. Liddell, your statement of that report has been, what was the term you used?
I'll explain it. I'm happy to do it. Mr. Boxer wrote that report at the request, actually, he didn't have a request, I'm not going to say he did it on his own. Since that report was written, there were various recommendations. Not one of them have been implemented. In fact, there's been no follow-up with regard to the report whatsoever. Numerous organizations, from New Jersey Future to Plan Smart New Jersey to New Jersey Builders and to various legislators, have said that the report was skewed, and I think Mr. Semmer said it correctly, to certain municipalities, and it happen to be urban municipalities, by the way, that abuse the system with regard to tax abatements. And in fact, it's cited, I've read the report also, by the way, it's cited in there some specific examples. I'm sorry, the one thing I don't recall is, what's the date of the report?
It's 2010. I think
2010?
it's August 18.
It doesn't say, but
I have
on the
August
letter to
18th,
the governor, it says August 2010.
Okay, so it's 2 years old. Since that report has been issued, not one change has been made statewide, either by suggestion of the governor, of the Christie administration, or any legislator with regard to pilots. In fact, what has occurred since then is that pilots have become much more popular beyond the urban, and it used to be way back when, 30 years ago, focused on urban centers. I'll give you some more information. In Jersey City, clearly an urban town, there are 85 plus redevelopment areas, the largest in the state. Most of those redevelopment areas where their development actually occurred, which is most of them, and we are one of them, by the way. We were the first ones, one of the first after Newport Center to build on the Gold Coast, right near Newport Center. We received a pilot, 1997. We are still paying that pilot X years later. I'm sorry, I can't do the math in my head. 15 years later. That pilot is a 30-year pilot, as all of our pilots are, by the way. They're 30 years. Pretty standard to do that. Mr. Semmer did indicate there's other programs available. In Newark, they've actually been pilots for 40 years. So it's interesting. But what I meant by disavowed is that since that report's been issued now 2 years ago, not one recommendation has been implemented, not one change has occurred, and pilots are more popular now than ever before. And in fact, what's occurring, at least in my businesses, most municipalities are coming to developers like me and asking me would I consider doing...
That's what Bloomingdale did.
Correct. They happen to get a recognition by the auditor, but I'm not sure where it is. They're asking me. Now, you may ask why. I think, actually, Mr. Dunleavy, Mr. Yazdi actually said why. The Christie administration, with the assistance of legislators, put a 2% cap in. That has caused some concern. Bloomingdale, historically, I'm not the expert like all of you in this room, has very high taxes. I think, the highest effective tax rate in Passaic County. I'm not sure about that, but if it's not the highest, it's one of the highest. And I think Mr. Dunleavy has said the mayor correctly, that without that catalyst, it's going to be hard to generate additional revenue. And that's what I meant by that comment, Mr. Dunleavy, about disavow. Mr. Boxer didn't say I disavow it. He simply meant that, or the result has been, there's been no implementation of anything that's in that report since it was issued.
Well, I would think you
But Betty,
yourself.
so we don't start another gate, come to me.
Oh, I was that gentleman that was just going all around the place.
But, yes, and I brought it back to the microphone, but it wasn't getting contentious in any way.
Except he was talking directly to me, so
Sure,
that's why I was
right.
talking to him.
But, and I'll
I would
confirm
think
that.
that Mr. Liddell would issue another report that would be in contrast and speaking.
I'm going to issue the report?
Well, it would be.
Wait, wait, stop. This is what we don't want to do.
It would be to the better.
I know, so, Mr. Liddell, just, I know, just hold tight there. Your statement was, do you think Mr. Liddell should issue a report?
Well, Mr. Liddell or maybe somebody in the building contractors, because if this is 2 years old and it's inaccurate, then it's misinformation.
But
I didn't say it was
Wait, stop. When I come to you, please. But I think the fact is, the fact that no government agency, state, senate, or assembly has implemented any recommendations in that report is evidence that, no.
If I could say two things. First, Mr. Liddell, please understand one thing. We have members of the public, they don't see this every day like you do. So just rest assured that we're just trying to get through this and get that understanding.
I agree with Mr. Rose, but when someone says that I went to Bloomfield and Roosevelt Park and did certain things, that's not correct.
I didn't say
No. That's number one.
Yes,
Number two, with respect to the report, I read the report, and I want you to know that in this process here, the things that, the concern that the comptroller raised are not in any way prevalent here in this case. That's why I read the report. I went back to it, it's even why I brought it tonight, because, even the report criticizes the process, saying that stakeholders, which I take to be taxpayers, it almost seems like there was a concern that these things were done, almost nearly, the last moment, the 11th hour when no one was in the room. That's not the case here. There's been plenty of public participation and information that's been distributed. That was one of the criticisms in the report, which I think you read a number of paragraphs. There were two about the fact that the public really wasn't involved in the actual process. Here, that's the case. But the other issues that were raised in the report are not prevalent in this particular case. So from that standpoint, rest assured, I think it's measureless.
I think what happens is, when something is such a good thing, I kind of wonder, maybe it's not as good as it's made out to be. This just seems like it's totally pie in the sky.
What if
I
it
wish
is?
you well, I hope it works, I really, Bloomingdale and Bloomingdale, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Anyone else?
Just to give a quick update.
Lori, if you're going to go two, I got to make sure everyone's got one, and this gentleman in the blue was the first, second round.
And so, Mayor, just to give a quick update, there was a question that, hey, you didn't bring over the 24,000 that you get under, the land tax into your calculation. Okay, if I bring it in, right, so our municipal portion would grow another 24, and I'm showing it here now, minus the 60, it'd be 126,000. But then, what we're doing with this spreadsheet is the comparison, right? So when we go 550 is our new tax minus, okay, there's a credit for land tax because he gets two bills. The county portion is paid out, and here we go. The 24,000 is now added to this portion as well to add up to the municipal portion, and the difference between what we would get under pilot and what we would get under normal taxation, exact same number. So I want people to rest assured there is nothing wrong and there was nothing that was missed in all of this calculation. This is version probably number 33 that I've gone through. Looked at this thing from every angle and, not to pat myself on the shoulder. This is what I do for a living. People pay me to do this. 13 million still stands true, 15.6 still stands true, and there is nothing wrong with this.
Okay. I think Mr. Gunderson? Speak? Yeah.
Alan Gunderson, 169 Clark Street, Bloomingdale. I am very disappointed that there was no outcry from the Board of Education. One of my primary concerns was the fact that I did not want to see any money be not given to the Board of Education. And over the course of the years, it's some $14 million if you look to, you know, whatever the numbers are. It's a huge amount of money. But hearing things that the board doesn't need the money, the business administrator, I think, made comments like that as well. I think it would have been well for the business administrator to have come here with the approval of the Board of Education and make a statement of some sort. But that's not being the case. As a result,
What approval are you referring to?
Approval of the Board of Education to come here and speak on behalf of them, that, you know, whatever their concerns are would be voiced through the business administrator. But that hasn't happened. And as a result, I can't fight alone for the Board of Education. I know that in the future, if a bond issue comes along, Avalon Bay is going to be excluded from it, but I hear that the borough will now pick up the fair share out of their extra revenue to cover that cost, because that can be very easily proven. So that's my comment on that. Second, I did have a similar concern with the fact that if the Board of Education came, there wouldn't be any money in the pot for them to get from the Borough Council, because all of that money would go to debt relief. Well, however that has to be worked out, you know, should be worked out. I'm in favor of getting rid of the debt, absolutely no question about it. And the sooner the quicker, that's all I can say on that. And my last comment is regarding Mr. Kramer's concern about what the valuation of the property is and all these other things. I think that Mr. Liddell and Avalon Bay has probably done very well for themselves, because if they didn't, they wouldn't agree to 30 years without seeking any property relief, you know, contesting their taxes. So I'm sure that they've done very well. And I wish all very well in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And the borough can only hope Avalon Bay does do very well. It's better for the borough. Before you come up, I just want to make a comment. The biggest concern, well, there's a couple of concerns. One is, I think, it's personal for people, whether it be Avalon Bay's existence in the first place. It's personal from other people. It's like, well, what about me? I've been paying taxes for many years and I don't get a break. But there's also a lot of high energy here about the Board of Education. I love the high energy that everyone's giving on this whole pilot concept, but it just amazes me, you know, constantly amazes me that the energy, that there's the same energy is not even focused on exactly the Board of Education, or not the board, the education process. 52.7% of your taxes is from education. And you don't have to answer my question, this is rhetorical. Has anyone in this room, with the passion you have here now, ever been to a Board of Education meeting asking why my taxes are 53% of my education? It's just, I think if we had the passion that's in this room tonight focused there, as well as here, it's welcome, we want it. Will also help the borough that next level in fixing a lot, you know, problems and costs and expenses. But it's just amazing that we all talk about education and how they're not going to get the money, but no one here with this passion for our tax issue focuses their energy there, ever. And that's the biggest part of your tax bill. I just makes me feel good.
Let me just add and clarify my statement around Board of Education doesn't need this portion of our taxes. Over the course of last year, $1 million was spent. I don't want to keep killing that thing. They needed to fix up those properties, and they did. Because I work in finance, because I see the numbers so clearly, rather than me coming to our residents and raising taxes by $1 million so I can pay cash for that project, I would have done it 10-year loan. Raise taxes only $100,000, not $1 million. Right? Now that they got the $1 million, the next project they got $1 million to spend for it. If there's 20 kids going in, they got $1 million that they can play with. And they can grow it at 2% every year. What's 2% of $18 million? It's a lot of money. That's my point.
Right. It's such an important point.
It's They're not desperate for this 300,000. Where the town is, you are, because it's debt reduction. This is I've never seen, this is a tax reduction process, program. How can we possibly fund it? It's going to benefit us all.
Thank you. Mr. Diller, Vice City Humana.
Yes.
I've been having problems with this being backwards. Richard Diller, 159 Pine Tree Road. I'm also, if you are not aware, the liaison from the Board of Ed to the council, and I have actually been here, even though I've heard several comments that the Board of Ed is not actually represented here. And basically, we have come up with no formal statement on this project or proposal, or whatever you want to call it, because we don't believe it would have a significant impact on us. As sort of Mr. Yazdi alluded to, if we really thought it would shoot us down the tubes, we would be here yelling. But our budget does, I mean, just like every other government entity, it's capped at 2%. So, and we fix our budget, we figure the budget out, put it in the cap, and that's the number, and that's the levy that gets sent out, regardless of, you know, how much other money Avalon Bay or any other development might generate. That's kind of how it works. So, you know, just because they come up with another $400,000 doesn't necessarily mean we can spend that $400,000. So, I've not been given authorization to endorse this project as a member, as the Board of Ed, but I can tell you, you know, we're not here complaining either. So, I don't really feel personally that the Board of Education is going to have any significant harm from this. So that's why you're not seeing the whole Board of Ed here or the business administrator here. We figured the governing body would do the right thing for the borough, and, you know, it really didn't have a significant back and forth with us.
And Rich, before you go, you're the finance chair for Board of Education.
Yes.
So you understand their budget better than probably most of the Board of Education members.
Yeah, this is my first year. I'm not sure. I would have to say, you know, John Patucci has also been the finance chair for many years, and he obviously has a good understanding of it.
Right, but just the fact that you understand it and you're making these statements should put some minds at ease. Do they need the money? They can always use more money.
Yes, and that's obviously, if you can find, you know, we'll take donations, whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
But, you know, when it comes,
buses are good.
right, you know, when it comes to the tax levy, and this would be under, without the pilot, it would be the traditional tax levy part. You know, we're capped at 2% growth. Minus, you know, all, you know, healthcare waivers and all that. So, you know, it's, and let me
Waivers and capital improvements.
right,
Outside of.
you know, and let me just say, somebody had brought up, you know, about additional special needs kids or something like that. Under the traditional tax levy system, obviously there are federal grants and stuff like that that we always apply for as appropriate. But there's no extra funds that come out of thin air to help pay for them. Whereas if the pilot isn't put in place, we at least have the possibility of asking the governing body, look, this has happened, can you help us out? And without it, A, we don't have that, I mean, we don't, the governing body just wouldn't have the resources to even consider that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, anyone else that hasn't spoken already? Okay, sir, you're patiently waiting. Round two.
3 hours later.
Yeah.
Second time around. The burr in my saddle is, has there been a traffic survey done?
Sure, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, because that part's 3 years old, planning board, so I don't know the answer to that because I'm not on the planning board. Was there a traffic study? It's irrelevant. Yes, the answer is yes, I'm planning board chairman, but that has nothing to do with pilot, what we're here for tonight. The agenda is a pilot.
Jeffrey Drive is the same thing. We have a question about Jeffrey Drive, the cutoffs to go up the Hamburg Turnpike.
So that has nothing to do with the pilot.
Okay.
We're not talking about the pilot. I don't mean to.
That was my two I forgot. I burn my saddle when I come in.
Well, I'll talk to you after the meeting to help you get that burr out.
Thank you.
We're here about the pilot. I'm sorry, there was any other hands for second round, short second round? Seeing none, the motion to close public comment.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Councilman Gadsden is going to caucus with Councilman Shortman just on one issue. I just want to bring the public up to speed on how it works here. As you can see, Councilman Patouche is on vacation, Councilman Schiffman is recused, and Councilman Conklin had a family emergency today. So it leaves myself and 3 council people. By borough code, we need 3 affirmative votes to pass an ordinance. If we don't have 3 affirmative votes, then the issue may be tabled to another date. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we're going to adjourn for 5 minutes and have a quick caucus.
Yeah, I think we're going to the Giants.
We'll reconvene at 11:32. Okay. Tonight was the second and final reading for the adoption of the ordinance number 2012-916. Is that right?
16.
I'm sorry, 16. It was the second and final reading. Because of our lack of council people here, we need, by code, three affirmative votes from the council. I would only break a tie for my vote. So, at this time, I know we don't have 3 affirmative votes.
Are you kidding?
So rather than ask for a motion to introduce, to adopt, which tonight, and I'll give Councilman Sherman the opportunity to state why. If I was to ask for a motion to adopt, that motion would be voted on 2-1, and therefore not adopt and fail because you need 3 affirmative votes due to the lack of members here. So rather than do that and then have to, it would just cause a big problem considering the ordinance another day, etc. So what we're going to ultimately do is motion to carry the adoption to our September 25th meeting. The reason? I'm sorry? No, I'm sorry. What is our meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. Here's the problem. Next, part of it is the Councilwoman Shortman, I'll let her take the floor in a moment, wants to meet with Board of Ed members. They meet Monday night. 9/11, we have 9/11 ceremony, so we can't meet then. And then on the 12th, Councilwoman Shortman leaves for vacation. Although I'll have other members back, I know I will face these other members stating they're going to be, well, Councilman Conklin, through executive session, should be familiar. It's going to be Councilwoman Patouche, who's been away. He's going to say she has no knowledge of it, doesn't understand, has never studied the plan, blah, blah, blah. So that would just, even if we had a meeting on the 13th, there would either be, I'm confident, a lack of quorum or lack of movement because of a council person who's been on vacation, not prepared to vote, as I think what we'll hear. And then on the 18th, which is our normally scheduled next meeting, Councilman D'Amato and Councilwoman Shortman are on vacation, continue. Which means we're back to the need of 3 affirmative votes. And again, I'm confident then that Councilwoman Patouche, who's, would be back in a week's time. I don't know if she'll have enough time to prepare to make a vote or not. So, on the 18th. All right, yeah, that's what we're going to convene to the 18th. Okay, that's what we're going to, I'm not going to ask for that. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I need a motion to convene the adoption of ordinance 2012. I'm sorry?
Mayor, if you're going to move that motion, which you can, table, the motion to table takes precedent, and then that's it. Then the discussion's over, because that's the only topic for the meeting, so the meeting.
But I don't want, if I table, don't have to reintroduce.
No.
I want to carry it, so I don't have to
Right,
reintroduce.
you'd just be postponing now the final adoption to a specific date. But under Robert's rules, that would conclude your discussion for tonight on everything. I just want you to know. When you do this motion, it should be at the end of the meeting. There's nothing else on
I got you. Okay. So now I just want to fill the public in as to where we are. Now, Councilwoman, if you'd like the floor, because, it was kind of clear that it would be 2-1 and you would vote no, and I think, you deserve the...
And I don't want to do that. That's why we've had these caucuses, so that we could communicate better with only 3 of us here able to vote. And I want you to know what my position is and why I feel this way is I think it's a huge issue. I think we're making a commitment to our borough for 30 years. I think it has to be very carefully thought out. Before I continue, I just want to say that we come to meeting after meeting, and there are a couple of people here and there, and it's really very gratifying to see my neighbors and fellow Bloomingdale people here with their feelings and their excellent questions and excellent input. And what I find is when I leave here and go home and think about it, it brings up more questions to me. But on this issue, we heard the first time on Tuesday night what this presentation was. Some of it was a little different than I heard publicly tonight. And I have...
Some of the PowerPoint is different?
Yes. Some of the statements made were not the same. And I had spent yesterday with...
I made the statement in closed session.
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Could I not be interrupted?
Okay,
I'd like to finish this. This will go on if I don't get a chance to finish it.
You can comment later.
Okay. I spent yesterday with George Hagel because my biggest concern and disappointment, as others have said, and many people, even at other meetings, have gotten up about the Board of Ed and how this is going to affect them. And that's exactly how I feel. When I spoke to Mr. Hagel, he sat down with me, he explained some of the financials of the borough, and he said to me, I will send an email. And I said, the reason I'm here is I just want our Board of Education members to come and listen to the PowerPoint presentation so they are familiar with the effect. They are the ones to be most affected by this, are our schools. Now, some people are very comfortable with it. They feel like it'll be fine, and when they need the money, they'll come to the borough and the borough will give them the money. Before I would consider voting for this, I know there's a board meeting Monday night, and I'm sure they have open public discussion. I'll ask George if he can put this on the agenda. I wish that more people that were here had all stayed, because as our mayor pointed out to us, this is where your real tax dollars are spent, and I'd like to see every one of you there also on Monday night to hear their answers and to get their input. I'm elected, they're elected. They owe you answers. They need to understand what their loss is. Maybe they'll tell you they're fine with it. Maybe they have concerns, but they need to explain their position just like I am required to explain my position. That is my purpose, to go home and digest all that you've said, all that is presented to me, and also for me to have a chance, because in this motion I am approving a financial agreement that I have not looked at. That's the other thing I would like time to go over. This is a matter of time to make, for me, a very important decision. And that's my explanation of how I feel about it. And it's basically to get through, to get all the information I can. It's a long time we have to live with this, and it may be wonderful for us, but that Board of Ed better be able to tell us that they're happy with coming here if they need money. That's all I have to say.
Let me ask you this. What about adopting with the condition of,
No.
it will be vetoed if the Board of Ed doesn't convince you otherwise?
No, I'm not moving ahead on this. And the other thing that I've learned being a planning board member, when you are voting on something this important to you, the motion better contain all of the detail that you want enforced, because that motion moves forward into what the ordinance becomes, and those details, and one important detail to me, and that one of the differences I've heard the other night and tonight has to do with paying down debt. Are we going to legally encumber this council to pay down the debt with the money that we're getting? Or will there be things found and some of it used for other things? That has to be part of the motion.
Okay, but if I may, there's two separate ordinances. The ordinance for the pilot agreement is defined in the agreement based on the terms of everything we talked about tonight. The issue of putting an ordinance in place dedicating that the pilot funds are to be dedicated towards debt reduction and tax relief is not part of the pilot ordinance. That would be just to clarify, that would be a separate ordinance.
And I guess you need legal advice how to word a motion that would say, I would approve this contingent in the motion that whatever income comes to the borough, X number of dollars would be put into.
I understand, but I just want to make sure you understand that would be a separate motion from the.
I'm not sure it would be.
Right.
What is?
We have the pilot issue.
It would be an ordinance that you would want to.
Separate from the pilot ordinance.
Yes, but you can certainly craft it, and as stated even earlier tonight by a member of the public, and some of the discussion of the council, you can put in there things that you would like to, do in order to dedicate the funds in a certain way, but they are separate.
Okay.
Did you want to comment or? All right.
But I had one more question that somebody in the audience brought to mind that maybe legally we can answer. If Avalon Bay principals sell this pilot program is still in place, correct?
And it has to be to a similarly situated and qualified organization. It can't just be to, Romanian, let's just say. It doesn't work that way, and the governing body would have the ability to ratify that basically transfer to make sure it's consistent. As long as it's consistent with the operation and the qualifications, you have to say yes. But that would be like an assumption or an assignment of a lease. It cannot unreasonably withhold your approval. So the answer is, it can't just wind up in someone else's hands that isn't qualified.
Okay. My other question is, and don't misunderstand me, I think that I have looked at these developments when I was on the planning board. I understand the quality that we have in this builder, and I do believe that these will be easily rented, and I do believe what will happen with the rentals. But what happens if they go? I know there's a lot of building developments that are before the downturn when they started up went bankrupt. If that happens, it's gone, right?
So are regular taxes.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to carry ordinance 16/2012 to September 18th.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call out, please. Sorry.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
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 Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?